You're watching TBPN. Today is Monday, October 27th, 2025. We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the capital of capital. We have breaking news. Ramp.com. Time is money. Save both. Easy use corporate cards. Bill pay. Accounting. Whole lot more. We actually have TBPN breaking news, which is that tomorrow.
Just to give some backstory here.
Please.
On Friday, we said this week was going to be magnificent.
Yes.
And
that was our teaser.
Here's why. Tell us, John.
Tomorrow, we will be interviewing Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, live on TBPN. Tune in, get ready. It's going to be great.
To be clear, that is a real picture that you just saw on your screens.
It is.
It is real.
It's a real JPEG.
It's a real JPEG.
It's not anything but a JPEG.
That's right.
It's real.
That's right. Super excited for that. We will be up in San Francisco tomorrow doing it live. I cannot wait.
Yes, and we will be, of course, leveraging Restream. One live stream, 30-plus destinations, multi-stream, reach your audience wherever they are. We take Restream with us on the road when we go to do our big interviews and small. We're always streaming. So, over the weekend, there was some debate over Suno. Is anybody paying for AI music? Who's paying for this thing? Was the question of the day, and this was on the back of reporting from the information that says music app Suno nearly quadruples annual recurring revenue to $150 million. They were doing 40, now they're doing 150. And Michael Rosenfeld asks, "Can someone explain where this revenue comes from? Who is paying?" And Haroon says, "Me. Suno Music is one of the most magical products I've ever used." Haroon is the founder and CEO of Rocket Money, the app, which was acquired by Rocket Mortgage. Fantastic outcome. Rocket Money, if you're not familiar, used to be Truebill. I think it was $1 billion acquisition. Really cool. And Haroon is enjoying it. And if you scroll the replies in this viral post that got over 1 million views and 4,500 likes, Palmer Luckey says he's using it. Gabriel, the OpenAI Sora, he's not the Sora lead, he's Sora Research.
That's right.
He says, "I'm paying. It's an incredible product." Dwight over at Captions, I guess now Mirage, is saying it's such a great product, super fun if you have kids too. And there's a couple of people that lay out specific ways that they use Suno. And so I wanted to kind of revisit this, noodle on this, understand what's actually going on, what's driving the revenue, because there's a whole bunch of different buckets of value that you can be extracting if you're Suno, the company. Yeah. So, the worst possible scenario is that 100% of your revenue comes from someone who's just scraping your API, basically, and trying to distill your model. If we went back to what happened with DeepSeek, DeepSeek was paying for GPT-4 tokens, but GPT-4 obviously was generating money from all over the place and had people paying for knowledge retrieval and a whole bunch of different use cases, coding tokens, all sorts of stuff. And so it wasn't exclusively that, but you could, in theory, like the most circular problem, the one that would be really throwing out the red flags would be, is it all coming from one customer, some other lab or someone who's just trying to basically distill everything that you've done. That's clearly not what's happening. You can see that so many people love it. And if you add up the number of reviews on the iOS and Android App Store, it's over 1 million.
Wow.
So they have over 1 million reviews. And I mean, I don't even know how many people leave reviews. I don't even leave reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're probably looking at, even if they get 10% of people who use the thing to leave a review, you're looking at, millions and millions and millions of people that are using this, lots that are paying, and it just kind of adds up pretty quickly. I think they have an $8 a month plan and then $20 or $5 a month plan.
And the thing I've been noticing recently on social media is it seems like they've had some type of, I wouldn't call it specifically a Studio Ghibli moment, but people are realizing that they can go to their favorite artist, like a rapper, let's say, and say, make this, make this future song, make the jazz version of this future song.
I saw DMX, X Gon Give It To You, but in 1960s jazz rendition. And that's sort of, it's almost just style transfer. It's really just filtering. It is. I mean, that's the beauty of the Studio Ghibli, is that you don't have to come to it with something that's completely a blank canvas. Yeah. You take something that you like, a picture of your dog, a picture of your family, a funny meme, an image from a movie, and you just say, hey, restyle this in the style of Ghibli, and you're good. Yep. They're certainly having that moment, and it's doing very well, and I do see those viral
good thing about that is that I don't think the jazz community is up in arms.
I think they might be.
Maybe?
They might be.
Maybe, but they don't have a strong case to be like, you are infringing on XYZ IP, right? Like, there's no company called.
I think that they might. I think there'll definitely be a lawsuit.
Well, so of course, individual artists might try to figure out, okay, are they training on my music?
Yeah.
And then in that case, did they buy the music? Because we now have precedent that shows if you purchase the songs, can you train on them?
Yep.
The question is if you purchase Spotify, if Suno is getting
streaming. We have a $20 a month plan.
Yeah, we streamed it to get inspired.
Yeah. That is funny.
But in general, I think this kind of use case is probably good for the underlying artist, and that it's just marketing, it's fan engagement, and then they're just doing kind of broad style transfer from a category of music onto this new artist.
Yeah. I wanted to go a layer deeper on this. But first, let me tell you about Privy, wallet infrastructure for every bank. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure all through one simple API. So Chris Dixon, who actually was on the show last week, 10 years ago, he posted a blog post called Come for the Tool, Stay for the Network.
Classic.
And the thesis was that he uses the example of Instagram. He also uses Delicious and a couple other examples. But basically, you're trying to start a social network. Why would someone come? Well, they came to Instagram because if you took a photo with your iPhone, back then the cameras were terrible, and adding a filter to it made it look cool and grungy and old school instead of just actually terrible.
Yep.
And so photo filtering apps were very popular. There was one called Hipstamatic, but it cost money. And so Instagram was able to give you a free tool. You came for the tool. Hey, I just want to filter my photos. Maybe upload them. I'll just have a nice little online photo album, essentially.
Yeah.
And then over time, you stayed for the network, and then eventually the algo feed, and eventually the multi-million-dollar professional content producing cohorts that are producing the greatest content at Netflix level that will get fed to you perfectly. Yeah. And so we're in this era where there's a lot of tools right now. There's a lot of AI tools. Suno feels like it could be an AI tool, and I was debating this with you earlier this morning. Of the $150 million that are, that's their ARR, how much of that is people showing up for, instead of Spotify, I'm just going to listen to Suno, and I don't really care about the prompt. I'm not really viewing it as a challenge or game or anything. How many of them are just I need to listen to music and Suno sounds good enough for me, so I'm doing that? Versus the next bucket is, I like the activity of coming up with creative ideas and figuring out, oh, normally I would just be sitting here noodling on my guitar or my bongo drums or something like that. I enjoy the process of making.
We have some,
but I'm not
drums.
I'm not a full-time creator. I'm not trying to monetize this. Yeah. I'm just having fun with the expression of like actually making music, right? That's the second bucket.
That's going to piss some hardcore traditional musicians off who are going to say, you're not making music, but objectively, if you're playing around with it, you are making music.
Yeah. And then the third bucket is like your job is to create content. You need music for your content. Maybe you understand that if you take a popular song, you take the latest Taylor Swift and you make it 1950s theme, that will go viral and you will get a lot of impressions on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and you will just make money. Or you're producing a documentary and you know what? You need some sort of background music.
Yeah, or a startup making a launch video.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Historically, they would be like,
go to stock music.
Use stock music.
Yep.
Are we going to use like copyrighted music and just wing it? And if it gets taken down at some point, whatever. But there's tons of different.
So there's those three buckets. And my question is, like, in the early Instagram days, no one was going to Instagram being like, yes, I'm a professional photographer. I did a wedding shoot and I need to filter the photos. I'm going to use Instagram. Yep. They were like, no, I'm good with Photoshop. Photoshop's fine. But and no one was going there being like, yeah, like I just want to look at something great. I'm not into this whole like watching Friends on Netflix thing. I'd rather just scroll Instagram. No one was into that because there was nothing there. And it was just like a couple filtered photos from your friends. You'd see like 1 or 2 updates a day in the early stage, in the first few months. And so nearly all of the early Instagram usage was this middle case of coming for the tool. You want to just filter a photo on your phone. Instagram lets you do that. And I'm wondering for Suno, what's the percentage now? Are most of the people there because they want to be full-time content creators? They really need it as a professional tool. How many of them are viewing it just as like a video game, essentially?
Yeah.
And then what will it be over time? Will it be something where you've prompted it enough that when you get in your car or you get to the gym, you just say, you open Suno and you just say play because you've prompted it enough? And I feel like it's very much in that second bucket of video game like, it's fun, it's entertaining, and that's certainly where Sora sits right now. Yeah. And the question is like, if you come for the tool, will you be staying for the tool? Will you just live in tool land forever, or will you eventually, will this become a network? And
so my lens on it right now is that it is such a it is still, even though we've had this technology for a couple of years now, broadly available, it's gotten a lot better, and it's just so undeniably magical to be able to generate a song. I mean, I remember growing up, being into music, it was hilarious. And my dad is a musician, and my dad would be like, I'm gonna make a song about the last week of school. Yep. And he'd play a song and he'd sing it, and it would be entertaining for the whole family. And so to take something that's that entertaining and then condense it down into a prompt is like so magical, and it reduces the just energy needed to create that magical experience down to 10 seconds, that there is a massive amount of people that will just pay for that magic experience today. They'll come in, they'll maybe do one free prompt. I don't know how their pricing works, but then they'll actually willing to pay because they're going to make one for their grandma, or make one for their kid, or make one for their job or whatever. And at least there's a high volume of people that are happy to pay to have that magical experience today. And so my view is like, there's a lot of people that are, I'm sure, generating these and not even sharing them that broadly, right? They're just sharing them with friends, family, etc.
We're just listening to them themselves.
So that's the thing. Again, we should have the founder on, but I don't believe that these songs are for listening to yet. I feel like they're for entertainment, but not passive listening. I might be wrong, but that's my current sense. Like looking on their website right now, it's make a country song about Jess being late. Make a jazz song about watering my plants.
I think, I think you're seeing something similar to like
Make
the
a
dawn of
house song
electronic
about
music.
quitting your job.
Like when I was a kid, I was able to actually steal, but or torrent a product called Fruity Loops, which was a digital audio workstation. So there's Ableton, and there were a few others of these like more advanced, Pro Tools. But Fruity Loops was very intuitive, like a really, really simple interface. And you didn't need a lot of extra gear to actually make music with it. Kind of like GarageBand-esque.
Yeah.
And it basically like lowered the bar. Yeah, FL Studio, Joe knows. FL Studio, it lowered the bar because instead you used to need to go and buy every instrument. And then all of a sudden it was like you could pull a piano off of a menu bar and just say, I want a piano right now.
Yeah.
And what does that do? Well, that lowers the barrier to entry. And so you get a lot more product, a lot more creativity. And obviously a big debate over whether digital instruments can hold a candle to traditional analog instruments. We kind of went through all of that and realized that, the people who are going to go see Marshmello live do not care, or the people that go and see, anyone at Coachella or something, they don't, some of them care. Some of the bands make their whole shtick, well, we use real instruments to make this music, or we still use real instruments, or we have a throwback song and we went back and pulled real instruments off for this. There's a couple DJs that will be like, oh, for this next one, we have someone coming out and playing like a real guitar, or we have someone on the drums live with this. But overall, you're just dropping the cost to create, and so more people are going to do it. It creates a steeper power law so that you have more competitive than ever, because the people that are truly talented are going to be able to rise up. There's no one, if you're truly talented, there's never going to be the person who's really, really talented but doesn't have the money to enter the market. So you're not keeping them out, and so all of a sudden, those people are gonna run up the score with cool creative things. The question is does this become a more of a video game market where people are playing Suno like a game for themselves and maybe for a few friends, like a Fortnite, like a Minecraft. Like you build in Minecraft, you are creative in Minecraft, but you don't often sell what you build. Like you don't often directly monetize.
And so my question becomes, if I've seen these like reels go viral on Instagram, going back to this like Future as jazz music, or Codeine Crazy by Future as in jazz.
Yes.
And the question is, yes, that is like a hit, like social media asset that is getting millions and millions of views and listens and things like that. The question is, are people finding that song or making that song themselves and listening to it on a repeated basis?
Yes.
And my guess is, as somebody who grew up listening to Future, I love Future, I have no desire, I was entertained by that, but I have no desire to like go find
put
the
it in
song,
your heavy
save
rotation,
it, and put it and listen to it on the drive home.
Yes.
Right? And the examples they give on the website of like make a song about Jess being late for work, that feels like more like a meme than something that's meant to be come back and listen to. Now, I can't imagine the use case as a parent of like generating a song, like the cleanup song, and putting your kids' names in it.
That's cute.
And you make and it's like, hey, every day after dinner we're gonna play this, and you're gonna put whatever.
That's actually hilarious. I like that. That's very.
And so that's something that I could come back to multiple times.
Sure.
But a lot of the use case, make a country song about Jess being late. Like, I'm sorry, that's like a funny moment, and maybe you send it again when Jess is late.
Yeah.
But it's not like nobody's listening to that.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you think about this AI music nonsense, what these kids are up to today?
I mean, I think current songs are like quite gimmicky.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you have a country song, it's about AI data centers in space or something. I saw that too.
Oh, I saw that one, yeah.
And it's like, it's fun, but it's very much like a gimmick. It's not like, I'm not going to actually listen to this.
Yeah. It always almost collapses down to just like, you could just tell me the prompt and I'd be like, oh yeah, that would be funny if there was a country song about AI data centers in space. I don't actually need to listen to the instantiation.
I think the quality bar for music is actually like quite high to get people to actually start listening.
Totally.
Yeah, could you actually play the bongo drums while you talk?
Well, I need to unmute. I can only play with one hand, so because of this. But
you have to press a button to be unmuted.
He's truly in the.
There we go.
Okay, we have a producer.
Okay, so I think this is like too hard.
Yeah,
but
that's
okay. If you look at like short form like video, they're only like 10 seconds long, right? So it's like very low.
I can't believe you guys got him like a dead man switch that he has to hold down. I thought he could just flip the switch and then the channel's open. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
He has a
yeah.
dead man
switch for Tyler.
Hey Tyler, say something while holding up both hands. Oh wait, you can't. Oh no, he's muted. That's very funny. What a quirk of our production setup. I want to continue, but let me tell you about Cognition. They're the makers of Devin, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. So the reason that I think it's important to understand, is Suno a network? Are you coming for the tool and staying for the network? Will it be a place that, is it a competitor to Spotify long term? Is it a competitor to Fruity Loops long term, or Ableton long term? Or is it a competitor to Fortnite long term? Is because of how resilient and what the market structure will be long term based on the actual usage. And so if it's like a video game, and if people come there to do some sort of like self-expression, they're trying to get a high score, they're trying to create something, and it's more of like this creative tool that they'll use elsewhere, that feels slightly less defensible than, okay, we're building out a proper network of connections between people that you won't want to leave. And so video games can be hugely profitable. They can be great. But the power law in video games is just a lot less steep than the power law in social networks.
Yeah.
There is GTA. There is Red Dead Redemption and Madden and stuff, and there Call of Duty. Like, there are some huge franchises, but there are way more like base hits in video games than in social networking. In social networking, there you have like the meta properties, which are the trillions. Then you have YouTube, LinkedIn, X, TikTok. All the smaller kind of mid caps, but then you really don't have anything down in the lower end. Whereas with a lot of video games, like you can just have like base hits, and so
So one thing I've been thinking about is where does Suno need to go to maintain their current, I would say, dominance in the sort of AI music category?
Yeah,
and because we just figured out that OpenAI is working on an AI music product.
Yes.
And I would expect that OpenAI eats the category of music as memes, which I'm talking about, which is like,
you think that
we had a funny thing happen at work,
yes,
and we're going to generate a song and we're going to share it in the team chat. I think that use case for people that already subscribe to various language models that I'm sure will all over time add the ability to generate audio.
Yeah.
And I think that Suno will still be fine, but they're going to have to really focus on other more integrated opportunities, stuff in the enterprise, stuff in kind of prosumer, working with creators, et cetera.
Yeah.
Actual musicians too is the other one where I'm sure when we get the founder on, I was just texting with Michael from Lightspeed.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bunch of musicians, like real musicians, that also use it. They're, I'm sure, a much smaller percentage of the overall user base, but they just use it to get ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. So if OpenAI builds like a great music generation API, and it's, similar to their coding API for GPT-5, like it's just frontier level, maybe that gets baked into Ableton and GarageBand and other.
No, I was just thinking for this category of what I'm trying to understand is what percentage of songs are just jokes.
Yep.
And I think that ChatGPT will ultimately do that pretty well.
Yes. So yeah, I'm trying to think about the images in ChatGPT versus Midjourney. Like Midjourney has been able to, images in ChatGPT did not kill Midjourney by any means. Like the Midjourney community is still going. They have something special there. They've created like their own special vibe and then sold it to Meta to create vibes. Like there's something there where it's not just frontier. It's like the specific UI, the specific community, what they want, what like the choices that David Hole's made. It's possible that Suno winds up in a similar situation, but when most people are in a flow of, they're doing some research.
So what you're saying is
Midjourney
basically created a genre Whereas
Yeah.
it seems like Suno's product market fit is not creating entirely new styles, but it's like make this country music artist do a house song. It's style transfer versus genre.
I think that might come over to ChatGPT as well. I'm just thinking about the professional versus prosumer versus casual. Like when I think of the casual AI image generator person, they're not like, I got to go to Midjourney and get my SREFs like in shape. What they do is they just say like, oh, I'm already in ChatGPT. Like, let me just see if ChatGPT can do it. And like, even if Midjourney was a little bit better, the casual user is just like, yeah, ChatGPT is good enough, or Gemini is good enough for them. Like whatever their daily driver AI app is, can just bolt that on. And so if you're daily driving a ChatGPT or a Gemini, and you have an idea for an AI song, you're just going to do it there for the casuals. But then for the prosumers, for the people that are really into the actual community, like they're in Midjourney, in the Discord, getting ideas, sharing SREFs, really pushing it to its limits. And I think you'll probably see the similar thing in Suno, where you have like this community that really loves it, and like a Midjourney creator will laugh at what comes out of images in ChatGPT, and they will say, "It looks bland. It looks sloppy. Like ours looks better." And I imagine that's the way it'll play out too. Yeah. But it's clearly just like an important feature to have, because just like if you're developing a grocery list in ChatGPT and you want to say like, okay, generate an image of the grocery list so I can just print it nicely and give it a little design. Like it should just be able to do that. Yep. And you should also be able to say, generate a song of this, like sing it to me. And it should just be able to do that. Like that's what a multimodal model should do. Yep. So anyway, it's just interesting that like we were coming out of the browser war yesterday or last week, and there really is going to be a war in every single vertical here.
Every company is going to do everything.
Everyone's going, well, yeah, OpenAI is certainly going to open up a new front in every
war.
New war.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, browser war. There's going to be the commerce war. There's going to be certainly the coding agent war. Yeah, and then now the music.
OpenAI never met a war it wasn't interested in fighting.
Well. Let me tell you about Figma.com. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. You can get started for free.
Go.
People are really having fun in here. AI-generated music from Suno V5 is now nearly indistinguishable from human-made songs. In blind tests, listeners guessed wrong as often as they guessed right. I wonder if images are at a similar level. Is music ahead of images? What do you think, Tyler?
So I saw someone, I forget exactly who it was, but they were doing a quote tweet on this. And what the paper actually says is people who have never heard AI music before couldn't tell.
Okay.
But people who have heard a lot of it can tell very easily. You see the same thing in text.
Yeah.
Where people who don't read a lot of AI generated text have a very hard time distinguishing them.
Yep.
But like you or I, we write a lot of
clock it all the time.
Yeah, it's very easy to tell.
Yeah.
So I think it's a similar thing there.
The first big AI music moment for me was people that know me know I love Gunna.
Yes.
And 2 years ago, somebody made an AI album for Gunna called Slime Pharaoh. That was the first moment where I was like, okay, if I was maybe distracted, and somebody put this on, and I was doing email or something else, I was busy, and they were like, hey, Gunna just released a new album. I'm playing, listen to this. I wouldn't have immediately clocked it as AI. But that is like a distinct type of music that, he's not always like, enunciating words,
sure.
Super precisely, right?
Yeah, yeah. If the underlying inspiration is a little bit sloppy, then the AI slop on top is just fine.
And just has.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited. I know we were a little bit bearish on that YC company that does AI generated launch videos, but I do like the idea of an AI agent that moves across all the different domains. So you come up with a concept, it can build out a script, and then it can build out a song, and then it can build out imagery for all of those and mash those all up and just like kind of puppeteer and let the different systems cook for like 2 hours to get you a result. At the same time, it's really frustrating to let something cook for 2 hours and it comes back and it's like sort of a mess. I kind of did the manual version of that with Tyler, my personal agent. I had Tyler generate TBPN live streaming from every different historical innovation moment. So the steam engine, the light bulb, the discovery of DNA, and he did a lot of hard work on it. And it probably took, I don't know, an hour of rendering across all of them, something like that. What do you think?
No, it was definitely faster than that. Because you can, I actually used FAL, and you can run them in parallel. So.
Okay, so you ran everything in parallel.
Yeah.
And
it was like 16 videos. So it still took like 10 minutes maybe.
And okay, I have a song.
Okay.
Gonna F You Mean, 1982, Soul Funk.
1982
version AI cover.
Okay, let's play this.
Let's play this.
I think we won't get demonetized because of this.
That's a beauty.
Oh, this is okay. This is gonna.
Fucking me.
It's pretty good.
Production team.
Everyone's jamming.
I'm gonna wanna bet calling me splurge. Watch me jump right off the curb. Bentley spur fly like a bird. Spin on the first and the third. Solid, I'm keeping my word. Can't be my equal, I don't know what you heard.
The supporting vocals in the back.
Keep me a stick if they purge.
I even heard the original song. I can't immediately clock the original song. So.
All right, we can pause it.
But this is pretty good.
That's good.
I like that. And I mean, if we're going to be able to play that level of audio on the stream without getting demonetized, that's actually like a huge unlock. I feel like there's a ton of fun that we could have with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it doesn't immediately clock as slop.
No.
In the same way, and of course, a producer probably can clock it as slop, but to somebody that doesn't work in music, isn't necessarily, like, I don't consider myself the biggest music fan.
Yeah.
It's like at the very least like better than elevator music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is just a simpler, it feels simpler than getting video right. Like video, if there's 6 fingers, you're going to notice, but in music, like if you're sticking to general chord progressions and you're sticking to a general key and, not like completely, slopping up the basic rules of how to generate music, you should be able to get something that sounds like at least reasonable. But I don't know. What do you think about this AI music stuff? Do you think you'll be listening to a lot of it in the future?
I think there's something interesting on like the consumption, like streaming side almost.
Yeah.
Where if you think of like, there's like the Spotify DJ, and it'll kind of update a little bit if you like, depending on how long you listen to the song.
DJ X, yeah. Sometimes I'll skip like 5 in a row, and it'll be like, I get it.
So it'll update.
Yeah.
And basically, like you can imagine, it's like trying to find the next group of songs, or whatever. In latent space, there's like some area where it thinks that like you might like that song. But then it turns out maybe there's actually no song in that point in latent space. Or whatever.
And then generates it.
So then you can just generate it.
Interesting.
So if you have like a generative playlist, I think that's kind of interesting.
I feel like Spotify's got to do something here. That DJ X is like 2 years old at this point. That was like that's just recommendation algorithms. That's not like the AI boom. That's not generative AI. But at the same time, Spotify, if they launch some generative AI thing, like a lot of the artists will probably be pretty upset, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like kicking the industry while it's down. It's like, hey, we know that streaming already doesn't generate like enough revenue, at least in their view, right? A lot of the artists will post like, I've seen artists like share their like payouts.
Yep.
And it basically shows like you need to be constantly touring.
Yep.
If you want to make money as an artist.
Yep.
And so if you introduce AI versions of their music or music that is just decent music, it's just going to hammer.
Okay,
it's going to hammer their earnings even more.
What should Spotify do with regard to AI music? I want your answer. Jordy, pitch me on a 5 or 10 year strategy. You're the CEO of Spotify for the next 5 or 10 years. What do you do in AI music? But while you're thinking about it, let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance, manage risk, improve trust continuously. Vanta's trust management platform takes the manual work out of your security and compliance process and replaces it with continuous automation, whether you're pursuing your first framework or managing a complex program.
Well said, John.
What do you say?
My immediate thought, and I haven't thought this through.
I gave you an entire ad read to think through.
Yeah,
you should be
you
ready
gave me
to
a
step into
full-
the boardroom. Be a boardroom general.
So the obvious, the thing that feels most obvious, and I'm sure there's some potential negative externalities to something like this, but if you just make it so that if I generate a song that's like an AI Gunna song that we just listened to, if every person, like if you can figure out a revenue split that basically takes care of the people that created the track that inspired it.
Yep.
In that case, it's extremely obvious because it's an existing Gunna song that's converted into a new song.
Yep.
If you're just paying out effectively the same amount to the producer and the writers and all that stuff, that feels like an easy solution.
Yep.
Now, the problem is if you're just generating entirely net new music, which is like the prompt would be like, make me a funk song.
Yep.
Then you're still eating into the potential earnings of like real artists on the platform.
Yep.
And I don't know how you solve that. I mean, it's potentially a bull case for Spotify because they can take out. Why did Spotify like lean so heavily into podcasts? One, because people wanted to listen to podcasts, and two, because they didn't have the same dynamic where they're paying out at such a large amount of their revenue to artists on the platform, so they could go out and pay to acquire, Joe Rogan or whatever it was originally for like a year or 2 years, because you were acquiring users that would presumably listen to podcasts, and you're not paying out the record label and the artists and all the underlying.
That is a good point. Yeah, but the monetization has to be wildly different between.
Yeah, so if I'm an
podcasts.
artist, if I'm Gunna and somebody's generating AI Gunna, I'm cool with that. If
You're getting paid.
if I'm getting paid like that's a normal song,
Yes.
but it starts to get really complicated when it's like generate a Gunna song that sounds like this, and there's no underlying song. So how do the royalties work on just like a generic Gunna song?
Yes.
Right? I don't know.
I have a rebuttal, but first, let me tell you about Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. So I know exactly how you do it. Tyler, you know how you do it. You take the song and you do the algorithm backwards, and you basically reverse engineer the prompt from the final MP3. And so if someone went to one of these AI music generators and said, I want Taylor Swift singing a Gunna song, and then it generates that music, you can use basically the same system to reverse engineer and just say, based on what this MP3 sounds like, what do you think the prompt was? And if you can figure out the correlation between the prompt and the actual output, you can figure out how to do attribution. And I think in general, Spotify, I would come out and say, hey, look, we're not going to get into the game of generating audio directly, but we are happy to let our creators use any tool that they want to generate music and come on our platform, whether that's a microphone and an acoustic guitar, or Ableton with a bunch of digital drums, or an AI music generator like Suno. You're welcome on Spotify, but we're going to take 50% basically, because we take our take rate, whatever the take rate is. YouTube's around 45, 55%. And then how are we going to actually parcel out the royalty? Well, we're going to look at what does our AI system tell us about what the prompt was, and if it's Gunna singing Taylor Swift or Taylor Swift singing Gunna, well then they're both getting 50% of that new generation.
Bunch of ideas from the chat. Taylor says the future is exclusive listening parties, zero streaming presence. So artists just charge, not even for a concert, just show up in a room, $10,000 a pop. You can be one of a small number of people to ever hear the song, and then they just retire it.
I like that. That's good.
I think there's something there. Ryan says I will cancel Spotify if they start pushing AI music. So
pushing. What does pushing mean though? That's the question. Like,
it's exactly what Tyler just outlined, right? They're DJing for you, and they're like, hey, we made this song for you. We thought you'd like it. So I think this is kind of potentially a stated preference versus revealed preference. I think that actual broad user feedback would be like, that's entertaining, that's kind
Yeah.
of fun, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I say that because people like
So
doing the Suno stuff.
If I'm scrolling my X feed and I see Harry Potter Balenciaga, which is AI generated, is X pushing that on me? Or is that just a good MP4 that day? People liked it, and so it rose to the top of the feed. I would say the latter. I would say that it's not like there was any
But
mandate.
Spotify is historically less algo driven, right? It's like we have this,
But they have
we
an
have this
algorithm.
like basically billboard in the homepage.
Yeah,
and we're
of
just
course,
going to
of
put
course.
stuff there.
But they have an algorithm, and the question is if there's, I think there's a big difference between them actually choosing to generate music and them allowing anyone to come with generated music. But
well, they're already doing that.
yeah, there are already artists that are.
AV says Spotify should launch a standalone audio Sora or Vibes. That could be interesting. I feel like they're so any business that is reliant on Hollywood or the music industry is just so sensitive. Like actually has this at scale business doing that is so sensitive.
And Spotify's in a way different place than OpenAI, which doesn't really have any Hollywood connections, and even YouTube, which YouTube's like the vast majority of their ad dollars and creators like do not come from any sort of Hollywood organization, any sort of large organization. Spotify does really have like a few key massive partnerships that they need to keep happy.
John Philippines said Spotify buys Suno. I could actually see that.
Well, if you need to generate some media, head over to Fall, the world's best generative image, video, and audio models all in one place. Develop and fine-tune models with serverless GPUs and on-demand clusters. Speaking of Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce is here to save Six Flags. And the Wall Street Journal has a fantastic look at that header image. Like, what is going on with that collage? Is that AI? I don't know. It looks like some sort of illustration, but it's a lot of fun. Have you been tracking what Travis Kelce is doing with Six Flags? Just this year, Six Flags, the stock has dropped from $50 a share essentially to almost $20 a share. So massive sell-off in the company. It is now popping on news that Travis Kelce is
Travis
investing.
Kelce effect, it's up 22% over the last 5 days.
Let's go. The stars of the Super Bowl always celebrate in the same way. They bask in confetti, hoist the Lombardi Trophy, and then proclaim where they plan to celebrate their epic victory. I'm going to Disney World. If Travis Kelce wins a 4th Super Bowl this NFL season, there are hundreds of millions of reasons why he might pick a different amusement park. The Kansas City Chiefs tight end just joined an activist investor campaign that's targeting Six Flags. Kelce, New York-based Jana Partners and other investors have put around $200 million to buy roughly 9% of the theme park operator. That means Kelce is now part owner, trying to sell America on stomach-churning drops, head-spinning turns, and Dippin' Dots, just what he loved as a kid and still does. On its surface, a 36-year-old football player teaming up with rabble-rousing investors might seem as unlikely as getting engaged to the world's most famous pop star after talking about her on a podcast. But as the two sides got to know one another, they realized the partnership was kismet and a ripe opportunity to revitalize an American icon. Kelce, in recent years, has developed a wide-ranging investment portfolio, mostly in business he's passionate about, beer, games, and clothing. And he's often done it alongside institutional investors. Kelce's business team had Jana on its list of potential partners. What would your turnaround plan?
This is just the most classic,
Six
and this is the
Flags
classic investment strategy. Just buy the stocks of the companies that you spend money with, right?
Do what you
Kelsey's
love.
just doing that.
Make your find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. How would you turn around Six Flags? How would you increase the revenues, increase the profit, increase the attendance? How would you make Six Flags great? And before you answer, let me tell you about Julius.ai. Julius, what analysis do you want to run? Chat with your data and get expert level insights in seconds. What's
Travis
the first thing you're
Kelce,
doing?
get on Julius.
You actually probably that would be a good first step. I know it's a sponsor, but you actually should take all
so
of
it's
Six
notable.
Flags data.
It's notable looking at NFL athletes, looking at their investment strategies.
Yes.
Kelce obviously going the activism
Yes.
route.
Yes.
Saquon going the Fifth Avenue route. He wants
Yes.
to buy Fifth Avenue.
Yes.
he likes co-investing with the founders funds of the world, with the Thrives of the world.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see these two strategies play out in the market. I don't actually know that I've ever been to Six Flags, which is wah, wah, wah. So I don't feel, and I'm not a fan of theme parks in general. So I don't feel like super qualified to. What are your ideas though?
I feel like there is potential for a comeback. I was convinced by Brian Chesky when he came on and said, you know how you never
long the real world.
Yeah, long the real world. You know how you never see your phone in dreams. That hit hard. I know it sounds like something you see on a Pinterest live, laugh, love board, but it hit with me. I'm serious. I've been thinking about this when I was looking at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I thought the Sphere in Las Vegas was awesome on day one. I thought it looked really cool, and then I got tickets for my wife and her friends to go see the Backstreet Boys there. They had a great time, and I was further confirmed. I still haven't even been to it, but I'm still just like extremely bullish on the Sphere. And so I do feel like what you probably need is more differentiation across different Six Flags theme parks.
Yeah.
What makes the Sphere so unique is that it's the only Sphere. They couldn't even build one in London.
Yeah.
They tried, and the Londoners said no thanks.
Yeah.
And so I would be focused on, if you look at the roller coaster database, RCDB, this is a real thing like IMDb, you can pull up which theme park has the tallest ride, which one has the fastest ride. And if you're a real crazy theme park fan, you can go around and I want to ride the tallest one here, the fastest one here, the biggest wooden roller coaster, and the fastest steel roller coaster. Yeah. There's all these different permutations, and you can go collect all the badges, but it's not meaningful. Yeah. Like it's like 5 feet taller over there.
I have two ideas for you.
Please.
So one, we talked about this a little bit last week, which is just raising the stakes, right? I think even as a kid, I understood that statistically, even though the roller coaster was going really fast and it was really high, and then it was going to go really low, and then it was going to go upside down, statistically, I knew the odds were in my favor, right?
Yes.
The odds that I was going to make it to the end in one piece, maybe a little sick to my stomach, whatever. Yes. But I knew I was going to get to the end. Just I had a good feeling, statistically.
Yes.
So raise the stakes, right? If it was like 1 out of 1,000 rides, it just comes to like a devastating halt, right?
Okay.
Like upside down.
Oh.
And so you just don't know. Am I
I do think,
in that batch?
Yeah.
Right? So that would be exhilarating, right? And we saw there could
be a mandatory chili eating contest.
No. That's my next idea. Okay. So America loves to gamble, yes. Right? And so what if they required every ride you had to eat a bowl of chili before going before going on it? And then there was like a DraftKings betting booth nearby, so you could see the people walking onto the ride, and you could bet every seat go long or short on if they were going to hurl at any point on the ride. They could eat the bowl of chili.
Yes.
They're walking out. They go on there's maybe like glass separating or something like that, but you could see them walking out and you're like, oh, that guy.
That doesn't look too good.
Oh, that chili's not sitting well, because especially throughout the day, people have had more and more chili, because every time they have to do a ride, they have to eat a bowl of chili. And so you'd have a huge new influx of guests that aren't there to do the rides. They're just there to gamble on will people make it to the end. And so by the end of the day, it is just a mess out there. People are in hazmat suits. You're walking around, goggles and everything, because there's just the whole park is just grow up going everywhere.
I'm a firm believer in adding variable rewards to Six Flags. Generally, I would be very interested in when you get on the ride, there's a 1% chance that it goes 1% the speed. And so you get on and you're like, you got unlucky and you're going to be on this for 2 hours now.
Yep.
And it's just going to be clinking along, just 1 inch at a time.
Yep.
And you're just like, I caught the raw end of the stick.
Yep.
I got the short stick.
So another one, like lottery upsells for every ride. So
we're basically just
trying to
pure gambling right now.
Just trying to juice their margin. Okay. You got people going.
Yeah.
How do we get more dollars out of every guest?
Yes.
And so I think if you have an option, you're waiting in these long lines, right? If you have an option to buy, people walk around with an iPad and say, like, would you like to do digital slots? Would you like to buy a lottery ticket? And kind of have fast feedback loops so that they can say, like, somebody in the crowd right now is going to win $1,000.
Yep.
you can do the numbers. You can run the numbers. There's only a few hundred people online.
Yep.
You got a not a decent chance, but you got a chance.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just about getting that incremental dollar out.
I have a different idea. I think you're getting a little degen. Let's go to Tyler. But first, let me tell you about Turbo Puffer. Search every byte, serverless vector, and full text search, built from first principles and object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. Tyler, what's your idea?
I think I like the what other than line doing stuff. So
Yes.
I think data labeling would be good.
No, that's actually great. Yes.
Go this kind of scale
Yes.
AI route.
I would take it a step further. You know those like big, massive LAN parties with just tons of monitors, like the JP Morgan. I would make the JP Morgan experience with a bunch of quad monitors, and you could go to Six Flags and you just lock in, and they just have Google AI Studio cooking on every monitor, and you just go to you get in the line to go vibe code, you chat with models, you vibe code, you monitor usage. I think that bringing in the corporate big tech dollars, either through branded integrations, rides, so you can ride the Google AI Studio coaster.
Another thing
could be a way to upgrade.
Another opportunity. Wellness has been booming, right? While theme parks have been in relative decline.
How do you get wellness?
And so the obvious thing is people have been promoting the intravenous use of like ketamine, right? So if you had ketamine mental health stations throughout the
What about facelifts? Did you see this article in the Wall Street Journal? Why tech bros are getting facelifts now?
Yeah, so it needs to turn
burning
into a
up the
wellness destination. You can get
so you can get a facelift. I'm not familiar with this at all. This whole story, but people were.
Wait, so pull up this
time.
picture. I think they're trying. I mean,
Whoever this dude is getting Dr. Ben Tale. He's a 60-year-old who runs a solar and tech business. He had an advanced deep plane facelift and neck lift with SMAS optimization as well as other procedures. Well, I mean, he looks great.
He's looking great. I think this looks like a good ad for facelifts, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, Keith Raboy, friend of the show, got a nod in this article.
Really?
Tech is a young person's game. In a 2024 talk, Keith Raboy recounted advice his fellow investor Peter Thiel once gave him. You can't hire anyone over 30. It's unsurprising then that men in tech are increasingly spending thousands of dollars on procedures such as mini facelifts, neck lifts, and eyelid lifts to beat the signs of aging, according to plastic surgeons. Yes, the latest addition to the tech bro look is a brand new face. Tyler, maybe you should go 10 years younger. Maybe you should try and look like a 5-year-old. Just maybe you should shave your head and get like that one curly cue, like the baby, the baby with the single hair.
I need the
Cartoon
propeller.
baby.
Yeah, the cartoon baby. That's the way to do it.
You would have to get you could get a facelift, but then make your face a lot wider too, like round.
You need to you need to get on some sort of diet that gets the baby fat back on. Instead of working.
Oh, that's just filler. Tyler just gets so much filler.
So much filler. You just have a baby face. That'd be ridiculous.
I'm amazed that people were quick to volunteer their own personal stories for this article.
Who did?
But I guess
Anyone we know.
All the people in the photos.
Yeah, but are these people know in tech?
I don't know, but they're tech entrepreneurs.
No, this is an
if you scroll
unnamed
down.
patient. I mean, you need to ID these people.
Oh,
Men
unnamed
used to-
patient. Okay.
Men used to
But
wait until
they're
their
saying it's a
60s or
46-year-old tech executive. Tyler, figure out every 46-year-old tech
engineer who this is.
Anyways, I think
don't
it's
know.
cool. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
People
Well,
should.
if you're trying to do facelifts, you need to get your brand mentioned on ChatGPT.
That's right.
Get your plastic surgery firm mentioned on ChatGPT with Profound. Reach millions of consumers who are using AI to discover new products and brands. The White House has posted that the console wars are over. They shared an image of Donald Trump donning Master Chief's battle armor with the plasma sword. I'm really not that sharp on Halo terminology, but it is big news because apparently Halo is coming to PS5. Is that correct? Who's familiar with
Yes.
this? Break this down for me. Are the console wars over? It does feel like they're sort of over.
Yeah, this is I think this was a quote on GameStop's post.
Yeah.
Where they said, we're announcing the console wars are over.
Yeah.
The Halo is coming to PlayStation.
That's exciting.
But
Halo's coming to PlayStation. It does feel like the console wars are over in the sense that the two companies have just diverged so thoroughly in strategy, where Microsoft owns Xbox but is very much like console agnostic, and Sony is very much like all in on PS5 as like the core strategy, and that's like, I don't know. They're still duking it out a little bit, but it feels very much like PS5 is like a real legitimate console, and then Microsoft and Xbox Cloud are like a strategy, and they would be okay with you playing Xbox games on your PS5 because they feel like they are definitely pulling back from like the hardware wars. What do you think?
I was just gonna say it's pretty funny that Ryan Cohen is so anti like violent video game.
That's
wild. Like the whole. I mean, like all the old images of like GameStop right the day before the new Call of Duty comes out. It's like, famous.
It must be. I mean, I would assume it was a big part of their revenue, but maybe not anymore. Who knows?
I wish I miss when Q4 meant that there was all I was thinking about was a new COD. That was a simpler time.
I played a little bit of the new Battlefield. It was not anything super special. Yeah, I think you got to set your whole life up to really dominate COD. Plus, I feel like I got to have mouse and keyboard, and it's just not in the cards for me. Yep. I can't do the controller stuff seriously. It's just too. I don't know. It's just not for me. Anyway, the console wars. I was trying to get up to speed on like how do you tell the story of the last 30 years of the console wars, going back to the Atari, then the NES arrives in the United States in 85, 89, Sega Genesis in 1989, Super NES, then PlayStation and N64 go back and forth. The Sega Dreamcast comes in, apparently one of the earlier online playable consoles. DVD playback of movies moves units into living rooms. People start buying consoles because, you can also play DVDs. And then eventually you can also play HD DVDs and Blu-rays. There was a battle between HD DVD and Blu-ray. Anyway, we'll see how much it's over. It feels pretty over.
But they're not, to be clear, they're not going to allow like cross-platform live play between PlayStation and Xbox.
Oh, they definitely do that in COD.
Oh, they do already?
For sure, yeah.
Is there any advantage to playing on one or another? Like, as like the hardcore players, do they pick a side?
I mean, I believe the hardest core players always pick mouse and keyboard, but they might play.
Okay, but hardcore.
So PC would be the most hardcore.
Got it. Because
the reaction time. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of people that debate this, but in general, the muscle, like, because if you're trying to click on a head, like moving your arm.
Yeah, you playing on a PC would smoke you playing on a console. Basically.
Usually, like there are clearly some people who are phenomenal with the sticks, but in general, this much movement is going to be more accurate than this much movement because this is just not that much. It doesn't leave that much for like precision. Now, some of the games have worked to kind of level the playing field by having different levels
Joe
of
says
auto
consoles
aim.
have auto aim.
Exactly. Different levels of auto aim. And so you're in this weird realm where if you play on consoles, you do get, it's not auto aim. A console player would be very upset with you calling it auto aim because what it actually is that when you're over a target, it slows down the speed at which the stick moves the cursor.
Reactivity.
Exactly. And so it's not snapping to the target. It's just letting you slow down.
Using auto aim with this laser pointer on the team.
Don't shine.
I don't put it in people's eye. I don't put the laser
You don't
pointer
know where
in
you're going
people's
with
eyes.
that. It's risky. You never
It's
know.
risky. It is. Should we talk about Take Him on why AI is underhyped and isn't a bubble yet?
Sure. Let's do it.
Take Him. Whatever happened? Tay was supposed to be on Friday.
Yeah, but it was like a 2 p.m. last minute booking, and it wasn't there wasn't anything in the news right then, so we're gonna have him on later. I wanted to have him on the show for a long
Sean
time.
in the LinkedIn chat says,
go.
"I'll take it that Jordy wasn't exactly a trick shotter."
Not on.
I've 360 no scopes.
I like that Joseph is like, as a PC player, it is auto aim. I agree. It does feel like there's a big difference between the computer is you're setting your sensitivity once, and then you go into the game and you interact with the game, and there's nothing that's like context aware. As soon as you add something that's context aware, it feels like that's auto aim and that's cheating, and that would certainly be an advantage. And it is designed to be an advantage because you have a lot of disadvantages when you're using a console with a controller that has small stakes. So Take Him says, here's why AI isn't a bubble today. He's distilled data points and ideas from previous columns and coverage. If you prefer facts and evidence-based reality over vibes and conflated narratives, enjoy. Big tech valuations are reasonable. Leverage is low. We're at the beginning of multiple AI super product cycles in the year ahead. We are in the early innings of a technology computing shift to AI, the largest in decades. Think 1994 versus 1999. Yeah, that's a good question. When does the dot-com bubble start? Everyone says like 99 to 2000, but was it not a bubble in 94? Because like it can be a bubble, like even big bubbles have small beginnings, right? Like they start as small bubbles and then they get bigger and bigger as they inflate.
Yeah, remember Amazon went public May 15th, 1997. So
yeah, and so you could easily claim that we're in the very early stages of a bubble.
My personal timeline was that like the further you went in the 90s, the crazier it got. Like it was like heating up.
Yep.
And there was plenty of people that made insane amounts of money like prior to the bubble, right?
Totally.
And a lot of them probably wish they held a bit longer, but
no, I think a lot of them are happy they got out when they did. Like,
well, sure, but again, like a lot of like the euphoria.
I'm talking about I've talked to some folks who are like they founded a company in 1994, they sold it in 1998. It does not exist. It didn't exist. It does not exist anymore. It didn't exist in 2002, but they wound up with like $100 million liquid, and they're like set for life.
Yeah,
because they like nailed it.
That's enough to retire.
Yeah.
Kidding. I feel like the debate comes up like
you still have to
like
work
is 10 million enough to
you still have to raise a VC fund and LARP as a VC for a little bit.
Continue.
Well, we actually have our first guest of the show.
Okay, we can come back to
this. Let's go to space. Let's go to space data centers. Our first guest of the show is Philip from StarCloud. Burning up the timeline. Philip, how are you doing? Good to see you.
The current thing himself.
The current thing himself. Did this all kick off with NVIDIA posting about you? Is that when the kerfuffle began?
I think that was the catalyst. Yeah.
Okay. So
thanks so much for having me on. By the way, I've been a huge fan since day one. So
I am glad to have you. This is why the show exists. We address every timeline that is in turmoil. So break it down for me. When did you start the company? What's the pitch? And then we'll go into some of the like.
Why are the haters wrong?
Yeah. But just give me like the recent backstory.
Yeah, so we started about a year and a half ago, at the beginning of last year. We basically in that time built a satellite. We've got the first launch coming up in a week, and that's why NVIDIA just posted their first thing, because we're going to be launching the first H100 to space, so about 100 times more powerful GPU compute than has been in space before.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the sort of brief history.
Okay. What were you doing before this?
So I started my career as an engineer for 5 years, studied applied math and theoretical physics undergrad and masters, and then I spent a few years at McKinsey working with the space agencies of the UAE and Saudi government. And then I founded and sold another company not related to this, and then moved my way into this.
Here you are.
Harvard, Wharton, Columbia. He's been to every academic institution.
Collecting them all. What is the strategy for this first launch, this first satellite? Like what are you trying to figure out with this launch? Yep. What is the value of putting this H100 into space, and then kind of like how do you think about the timeline? Because I think like I would say like overarching criticism of data centers in space has been like I don't think people generally believe that this will never happen. It's more of like a debate around like the timeline on which it happens.
Yeah. which is it's a fair debate to have, I think. So the first satellite, the reason we're launching this, lots of people believe that you can't run terrestrial data center grade GPUs in space because of high radiation environment, and you need to dissipate the heat in a vacuum. So this is really a demonstrator. It's a 60 kilogram small sat. It's launching on a Falcon 9, a quarter plate there. And so we'll be running high-powered. We'll do a whole bunch of firsts. We'll be the first to run high-powered inference in space on imagery from working with various DoD customers. We'll announce that soon. We'll be the first to train a model in space. We're training Mini GPT from Carpathy. We'll be the first to do. We're running a version of Gemini called Gemma, which is like a cut-down version, working with Google Cloud on that. So we'll do some fun demos. Like, for example, you can SSH into it and then just ask it things like, where are you now and how does it feel to be a satellite? And it will give you a kind of coherent answer. But yeah, this is really a demo. The next satellite launching in October next year is 10 times the power. We'll have by far the largest commercial radiator in space, a 30-meter wingspan solar panel, and then we'll have very, very sophisticated optical and connectivity options on there. So customers, including DoD and other satellites, will be able to send us raw imagery. We process it on the edge, and then we just downlink the insight. And that's the roadmap.
How far are you? Like, there's a launch that's happening very soon, and then there's the renders, which are like, it looks like sci-fi Star Wars. Like, there's like 25 shipping containers that are descending. Like, what's the delta there, and what was the decision between like kind of showing more of a vision document? Because I think that's what triggered a lot of people, was like you were showing an amount of mass in orbit that feels like beyond the ISS. Like it looks huge.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no. To be fair, it's extremely difficult to imagine what's about to come down the line with Starship. So like the launch cost might come down by between 10 and 100x. Launch capacity is set to go up by 1,000x or more. And the reason is, if you build a new Starship every day for a year, which is like a very conservative estimate for what they're trying to do, at the end of the year, you have 365 Starships. It has 5 times the payload capacity. You can launch 10 times as frequently. So we're really talking about 1,000 times like more tonnage per year that we can get to space. So, and that's coming like 3 to 5 years, which is really not that far away. So the idea of the render, like you can launch the whole ISS in 2 Starship launches. So the render is to show, look, there is going to be a lot more mass in space. But yeah, I mean,
I almost feel like you should have done the Anduril thing where it's like anime if it's like sci-fi where the vision's going, and then it's like render for like what you're actually sending. Because like the render that I saw of like the multiple shipping containers putting together, like that's not what's actually launching next week. So I think that's where like a lot of the cognitive dissonance is coming from, right? Yeah. But I mean, you'll iterate all this. It's fine.
Yeah. I recently saw Palmer talking about that, and I was like, man, that's actually pretty cool.
It's nice to have, because there is a value for like the vision document. Like, where do you want to go in 10 years?
Yeah.
But it just hits different when it's like the official NVIDIA account is sharing this render, and it's like, okay, like that feels like it's happening soon.
It's not like they don't do their research. Like they have a whole team of like PhDs that go and look at this shit, and like they have a board that approves that this can get shown, that it's like feasibly possible.
Yes,
but yeah.
I don't think
talk about this first launch is meant to be like a demo, basically. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but effectively a science project to start to show capabilities in space, to start to prove that you guys can actually put GPUs in space that can run workloads. Like, what is the actual timeline? So, and then it sounds like maybe defense is like an early place where there might be some commercial applications. But then what's your timeline on when, if or when, I would be, prompting a model like ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and
it's like open running. It's just like it's just cheaper to do it in space, because that's the long term vision, right? Is like it's just cheaper. Yeah. It's not anything special or like, oh, we need to be there for some geopolitical or defense reasons. It's just like the energy is free and the heat dissipation is free, so it's just cheaper. So that's where you go, even though the launch costs are expensive.
Yes, yeah. So maybe I'll start with the second part. So when will it be cheaper? That's coming with Starship, and so we're looking at the first commercial launches of Starship in 18 months. But we're probably going to be seeing, mass volume production of Starship on a 3 to 5 year time frame.
Yeah.
So the roadmap is next year in October we're launching our second satellite. That's the one is about 10 times the compute of the first one, but much more capable in terms of continuous power generation and solar panels. That one is the first commercial service that will produce more cash than it costs to design, build, and launch. I mean, that satellite pays for itself just on hosted payloads because that satellite has such high throughput and processing capabilities. There's a whole bunch of people that just want to stick sensors on that. It's not the end state business model, but that's a nice revenue stream in the meantime. Then we're launching a satellite after that, which will be, I can't talk too much about it, but you can see this Pez dispenser form factor that's coming out of Starship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say too much.
And that was successfully tested on the last Starship launch, right? Where there was a whole bunch of like debris blowing around. It was a crazy launch, but it did come back. It landed, and the Pez dispenser thing shot out the fake Starlink or like the dummy Starlink.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So that's about a 4-ton, at least 100 kilowatt satellite. Yeah. Second one's 10 kilowatts. First one's 1 kilowatt. So we're like going up an order of magnitude each time. Okay. That one could feasibly launch end of 2027. And then from there, we basically will launch lots of small versions or lots of continuous versions of that because that will have very low launch cost. Yep. And it will be a while before we start launching the full Starship payload base size. I mean, for one, we need this clamshell door to be ready before we can do that. But to be frank, it's quite a while until we start docking things in space. The only reason you would dock things in space, like in the concept video, is if you want to train a large model, because then you need the whole data center to be internally networked. And so that we're probably looking at, early 2030s before we start docking.
I mean, I don't have a problem with thinking in decades like that. That's like what we say in tech we want people to do. And so I don't think there's any problem with saying there's some crazy stuff that needs to happen with launch costs and like it's going to take a while until this really works out. Like that's actually exactly what people want from technology founders, ideally. I guess there is the question of like, how do you frame it as like how you don't want people to think.
If you just needed to generate a lot of revenue quickly in space, you could do the first space casino where people could beam up, tap into it, all ages.
People that hit me up.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean,
space token. You got to mine it in space. How do you think about some of the I think we'd asked Dylan Patel at one point about GPUs in space, and I don't think he mentioned like the challenges around heat and heat dissipation, but he was talking about how sometimes you just need to like unplug the server and plug it back in again, or switch out individual GPUs. But like, what's the solve on that long term? Are you thinking about these being like fully robotic systems that allow you to make changes on the fly? Like, what's the solution there?
Yeah, I think probably 2 points on that. I mean, the first is for these massive data centers where you've got like, a kilometer long or a mile long row of racks. When so the people I speak to now are saying, look, if an H100 breaks in that, you just leave it in there. Nobody's going down there and unplugging and putting that back in there, just writing software around it, and they'll just leave it basically. So that's number one. But secondly, for the first few iterations of the satellite, it'll be exactly like Starlink in that we won't be able to touch it. And so we'll have to have redundancy on the critical systems. And then we over provision things like solar panels and radiators, which degrade over time. Over time, the whole industry space industry in general is moving towards robotic maintenance, but also terrestrial data center industry is moving towards robotic maintenance. And that's where on a sort of 5-year time frame, some of the people we speak to in data centers are saying we are fully expecting data centers to be maintained by humanoid robots in a 5-year time frame. And this is where it starts to sound a little bit wacky and sci-fi, but humanoid robots do not require too much modification to work in space, in the sense that a human spacesuit would take care of radiation and thermals. You would need to retrain it slightly, but that's maybe sounds a little bit wacky, but robotic.
Well, it doesn't have to be a humanoid, right? Like there's a bunch of other form factors.
It could be any form factor, but humanoids will be mass produced, so probably the cheapest.
It's interesting.
I want you to react to Andrew McCallop's viral post. It got 7,000 likes, breaking down a bunch of different things. The core claims I see in here are questions about what if demand for payload to orbit doesn't decline. He does talk about the difficulties of heat dissipation. He says, you just finished watching a Scott Manley video on radiative heat transfer, and now you think you're going to disrupt AWS with a few solar panels and a rideshare slot. You're going to believe that right up until the next month when you crack open DeWitt. And he goes into a lot of the technical level. But I was wondering if there were any key points in here that you think were easily debunked from actually being in the trenches. Obviously he's he does work in space and does something somewhat similar and does seem like an expert who'd be equipped to know this stuff. But you've obviously focused on this case specifically. So what was your reaction when you saw his sort of comedic breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I like the post, and I mean, I'm a fan of Andrew. I've been following his stuff, and he's a great engineer. Same with Delian, by the way. Very impressive what they're doing with Vara.
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, on the thermals, the criticism usually is in order to dissipate that heat, you need a large surface area, and they think for some reason that's super impractical. I mean, my co-founder Ezra has a PhD in engineering, spent 10 years designing and building large deployable structures, solar panels, and radiators, and I mean, you just have to build a large surface area, and that's what we're doing. So half our engineering team is building a very large, low-cost and low-mass deployable radiator. So that is the core IP of our company, is that. So that's number one. On the launch cost side of things, so sometimes people say if there's no competitor to Starship, which it doesn't look like there'll be for at least 5 years, then will there be any incentive for Starship for SpaceX to drop the pricing?
Yep.
Now, I have a bit of a different opinion than most people. Most people say, well, no, they'll just keep it high. I don't think so. And it's the same reason that they keep that Tesla is sold at under the price. They could potentially sell Tesla at a higher price, but in order to reach a much larger market, you need to sell it at a lower price. So, for example, they're going to have all of these Starships sitting there. They can only launch them once every 2 years to Mars. Their marginal cost of launch on each Starship is $2 or $3 million.
Yep.
Now, either they can leave it there because there's no demand at the $200 million for a launch price, or they can say to people like us, hey, you can launch it for $20 or $30 million. They still make shitloads of money. That's still very profitable for us. And so it's like a win-win. So my expectation is that actually the launch price will come down even if they don't have a huge number of competitors.
Yeah, like the elasticity of demand there, like they might just be able to sell more volume at lower prices, so they might wind up lowering the cost, or kind of giving you like a bulk discount if you want to put it in that terms. Interesting. On the heat dissipation question, how much do you think that is in the domain of science and we need to have a breakthrough discovery? You need to discover the solution to that problem versus an engineering problem where maybe it just comes down to, can you manufacture something that is already follows the laws of physics and all the physicists agree it works if you can just build it profitably? Yeah,
I mean, it's from what we're seeing, it's very much an engineering challenge. It's really like a manufacturing. So we know that it works because the International Space Station has a radiator that dissipates 70 kilowatts. The problem is it's ridiculously expensive.
Sure.
So our radiator on our second satellite is 10 times lower mass per watt of dissipation and 100 times lower price per watt of dissipation than the radiator on the International Space Station. That's the whole game, is making this radiator cheap and light. And we've got some very innovative or very unusual manufacturing techniques that we are working on, basically.
Fun.
You posted a few days ago, people don't understand Starlink is going to just be the internet. Direct to cell is going to hit hard. Basically, all telco is doomed. Let's check in this time next year. Expand on that.
That was at 1 a.m. and I had a very heated argument with somebody, and I was in the cab and I was like, I'm just going to post this, and then like 300,000 views later I was like, okay, this was probably like a little bit too extreme.
Too aggressive.
Well, no, obviously if you want to get attention on X, just say the most inflammatory thing possible. Say that all
Normally
these
multi-hundred. I don't do that.
Yeah.
No, but what's your view on how quickly we saw news on Apple exploring something with Starlink on direct to cell.
Yeah.
Seems like every major manufacturer is going to be interested in this, and then there's also that other company that's like a competitor, right? That what is it? That is Verizon propping them up. They don't have any satellites.
ASTS. Is
ASTS.
the new-
Yeah. No, I don't think they have any hope in hell. And the reason they don't is because, sorry, I know there's a whole bunch of people that get it.
They have they have a retail army.
The retail traders.
The retail traders are going to
retail
come for you,
army,
dude.
they're
Good
gonna
luck.
kill me.
What do you know about space?
Well, you got the private
Hey, well, it's
markets.
up. They're doing fine.
You got
Up.
the private markets Varda guys coming for you. Now you got the retail traders at ASTS coming for you. You got no friends in this foxhole, dude. You got to get out of here.
ASTS is up 7% just today.
Oh,
so
that's so good.
Oh wow,
That's amazing.
So-
Well, no, I mean, okay, I want them to succeed, and I'm like,
Okay,
fans
well, in that
general.
case, I reverse my entire
Technology.
position. 7% move. Let's go. That's very funny. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a launch cost thing. It's a launch cost thing.
Sure.
They can't compete with Starlink on the launch cost. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that argument can be leveled against us, by the way, as well. So
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
fair-
so on what are the telco companies gonna do, because they're multi-$100 billion companies? They're not just gonna roll over. How do you see them kind of reacting?
I mean, it feels like there's lots of multi-$100 billion companies that just get backed into a corner and die. I mean, Blockbuster was a $100 billion company.
You are
Doesn't mean it's
such a
gonna survive.
space maxi. This is-
I guess
you
my,
might be
my-
right over it just depends on the time frame, but
Well, then-
it just doesn't seem like
mean,
it
but
just
what I
doesn't
mean
seem
is
like
people don't-
internet backhaul is not going to move to Starlink in the next 5 years. This is not going to happen. Like
there'll be
Akamai,
undersea cables for sure. There'll be
Right.
undersea cables. For sure.
Yeah.
But the thing people are underappreciating is the amount of capacity they can launch per Starship is absolutely mind blowing, and that is coming in 18 months. So, and that's like proper hardcore, very high bandwidth direct to cell in buildings, and that's
In
what people don't
buildings.
appreciate. In buildings,
It's pretty crazy.
yeah. So,
Yeah. No, I
Well,
mean,
maybe
I
I'm wrong, but
yeah,
love,
I guess,
love a Starlink.
I guess
bull case
they
generally.
the telecom companies could end up being like Starlink resellers.
Yeah.
Right? Is that one scenario?
I mean, they could be. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like the
It's one
best business to
scenario,
be in,
let's
but.
call it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways.
thank you so much for hopping on and defending
Thank you
your
so much
honor.
for having
I think you
me.
did a great job
Really
defending your
appreciate
honor. I think you're thinking in decades. I'm excited for you to continue
Thank you so
working
much.
on this.
How you're in the Washington area, right?
Yes. we're in
Washington
Redmond,
State.
Washington.
How's what's the scene like in Redmond before you go? Good. How's the energy?
I mean, there's a lot of it's where Kuiper and Starlink are. So all of the people, I think 95% of satellites launched in the last 2 years were designed and built in Redmond. So there's a lot of space talent up there. But it's not the liveliest of cities in the world. But
Well, you guys have work to do. So thank you so much for joining. Fun conversation,
you
and
so much.
we're rooting for you.
I really appreciate it.
We'll talk to you
Cheers.
soon. Let me tell you about Linear. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. You need the system for modern software development, streamline issues, projects, and product roadmaps. You can start building. Do you want to go into bub talk? Are you still interested in talking bubbles, or do you want to
Bub
move
talk?
on to something else?
We can move on to something else.
There's a bunch of bub talk in here. Maybe more importantly, the
we
maker
need
of Oreos.
we need to hammer bub
Bub
talk,
talk?
more.
I mean, it's been a lot of bubble talk lately, but I feel like we've hit it a bunch. There's a bunch of charts. either
Yeah,
way.
if you're trying to figure out if we're in a bubble or not, I recommend going outside, picking a daisy, and just picking picking the petals off.
That
and going,
does
it's a bubble.
feel like where we
It's
are
not.
right now.
It's a bubble. It's not. It's
Yep.
a bubble. It's not. And then whatever you end up landing on, that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah,
good luck
and so-
out there.
In Oreo world, Mondelez, the owner of Oreo, has trained their own video model for television advertising. They invested $40 million, and they say it cuts production costs by 30 to 50%. I don't know how that's possible. That like it should cut costs by 99%. Like, do you know
I don't
what
know.
it takes to do
I
a
just
video
think
shoot?
I still think there's a huge amount of budget goes to coming up with good ideas,
Sure.
and then the like editing, and
Yeah.
then making infinite variations of it, which
Yeah.
I'm sure AI will can already do well in some cases. So.
Okay.
But
Tyler
I
has a
still
take
think
on-
you pay people to come up with great ideas and then
Yeah.
execute, but the idea is like actually the highest margin part, right? And so some of the ad agencies I think will do well. Apparently, the Oreo's parent company
Mondelez?
only spent $100 million on digital print and national TV advertising in the last year.
Wait, so they spent $100 million on advertising,
And then they spent
$40 million
on
this.
top.
Okay, Tyler, what's your take on Oreo Net?
So this was my idea when we were talking about Sora, where I said that Coca-Cola should release a video model open source, where you can do anything, but every single video has a Coke.
Oh
model in it.
yeah.
So they should release this model, make it open source, but there's just Oreos everywhere in the video.
You just like can't do
cannot-
anything else. You ask it to like make a picture of your dog, and your dog just is an Oreo for a head or something like that. It just gets
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea that would be abused so badly that it would be shut down within
Does this?
24 hours.
I mean, does this math make any sense? Like, where did the 40 million go? Like, what were they? Were they fine
McKinsey's
tuning?
like,
What is it like?
That 40 million
Clang or
is
something?
ours now. That is ours now.
Yeah.
Accenture was like,
I
yes, we will
really
take your-
want to know. I really want to know the breakdown of that. Was it actually like running the fine tuning? Was it generating, training data? Like, what was the actual project that got them there? I mean, I could imagine,
It was somebody took the $40 million and they made an app layer on top of Sora 2.
yeah. Also, if they have a whole bunch of footage of Oreos throughout the 30 years that they've been advertising and doing video ads, maybe 50 years, and they load those in, can they count that as like depreciation or something?
It's hard not to see this
Pull that in.
being like a huge waste of money that somebody high up said, like, I'm going to be the AI guy at Mondelez, right? Because you have to imagine whatever they were able to do today by investing $40 million, 40% of their ad. So again, like, production cost, which is where they're saving money, is not advertising budget.
Yes.
I would look at the way they're talking about their ad budget as like what they spent on ads plus the production cost.
Yep.
Like that's the ad budget.
Yep.
It's very possible that the production cost was like 10% of that.
Yeah.
So you spent 40% of your overall advertising budget to slash potentially 10% of your budget by 30 to 50%, meaning
pays
that
back
the
in 5
payback.
years.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's not the craziest thing. I don't know.
yeah, but the models will just be one-shotting.
It
I
does
promise
seem
you they will be
unnecessary.
one-shotting people eating Oreos better than your model, your custom
Okay, this is a good
model
take.
by now.
Yeah.
Like by the time they finish, it's like they get on Sora 2 and they do it and they're like,
Oh no!
dang.
Why did we fine tune like some?
oh, they did it with Accenture. I called it.
No way! They did
I knew it. I knew this was just like big consulting, big strategy firm says, yeah, we're happy to give you if you want it. What's your budget? Okay, $40 million. We're happy to give you an AI play here. You're gonna be, you might just be the OpenAI of food. You might become. We can help you be the Anthropic of cookies,
of cookies.
and then it's just immediately a write-off.
It is so crazy that they created their own model. How did this leak? It's so embarrassing.
I think they're bragging, John.
They're
I think
bragging?
they're bragging.
Mondelez is doing.
It's like, why are they telling on themselves?
Why are they
They're
telling
not,
themselves?
John. They're bragging.
Wait. Yeah, they said the head of the global senior vice president of consumer experience said they're going to use it in the 2027 Super Bowl. I don't know. Is there any reason why you'd want a 3-year-old
It's like
fine tune?
You could have just run 8 Super Bowl ads.
You could have run 8. That is actually
Imagine-
crazy.
That's actually an under.
This is so inspiring. If you want to make money in the AI boom, go and get $40 million for a project like this. It's genius. Like you just
That's
made
an
so
epic
much money.
consulting moment. Yeah. Coop says sounds bubbly to me. Totally agree.
There's really so much money.
Nobody has applied. So the friend.com billboard strategy
Yeah.
is potentially a new strategy, which is just like buy so much advertising
incredible.
that people can't stop talking about it. Why has nobody done that for the Super Bowl? Like, has anybody bought? Like, if you really wanted to break through with the Super Bowl, you would buy
All of
10
them.
ads. Or you'd try to buy. I mean, Friend tried to buy.
Can you
every
imagine
single ad.
doing a whole Super Bowl buyout? It's just for how many minutes of Super Bowl ads are there? Could you do 40 minutes of ads?
We
Insane.
can't get away from Avi's billboards. We drove by today. This one that just says when you're on the street, it just says end.com.
Is it the end?
But yeah,
don't know.
I definitely think that Oreo's just being like, we want to be drilled into the mind of every American. We're going to buy 20 Super Bowl ads this year. That's our budget for the year.
Yeah. I mean, there is like some sort of bull case where it's like you need to generate a whole bunch of Oreo creative across Facebook and Instagram ads and whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know why you need a custom model. The $40 million custom model
because you have to
crazy.
assume that every model is training on every Oreo ad ever in history.
Am I crazy here? Is there any reason why you'd want to fine tune for $40 million?
I would go farther. I would train a language model.
Oh yes, from the ground up.
Yeah, because then you have
do a full pre-train. Do a pre-train.
Do a
Yep.
pre-train. Do a full base model.
Yep.
What's it going to score on humanities last exam? What's it going to score on?
Let's assume I'm a Fortune 500 buyer and you're an Accenture consultant. How much is that going to cost me, Tyler?
Couple billion. I mean,
And
nothing
you're
crazy.
telling me that that's worth it, right?
Of course, yeah.
We got to get this guy a job at Accenture. he's gonna 100x revenues.
Yeah, I mean, this just to close it out. This is Publicis Group, French multinational advertising company, one of the largest advertising agency conglomerates in the world, and Accenture serving up a farm-to-table AI strategy for an executive at Oreo who wants to be able to say, we're not just using generative AI. We are generative AI. We are the future of food.
I hope they need to vertically integrate. They need their own data center. They need their own
Snapchat.
chips. They need to bake this Oreo algorithm into an ASIC. They need to go to Broadcom. They need to go to TSMC. They need line time at TSMC because, I mean, it's possible that they need to go to ASML and get an entirely new lithography machine.
They need to get into rare earth. They need to get into rare earth.
They need to get into rare earth. They need to go all the way down to. They need
Maybe
to make,
acquire a desert just to get enough sand.
They need to teach sand to think. They need to teach sand to make Oreo ads. That's what they need to do. They need to acquire sand.
Brutal. Best of luck out there, Oreo.
Best of luck.
We're rooting for you.
Well, you know what Oreo should do? If they want to use AI, they got to use numeralhq.com. Put your sales tax on autopilot. Spend less than 5 minutes per month on sales tax compliance. If you're selling Oreos online, you got to get numeralhq.com.
Lulu says it's the year 2025. You wake up and a progressive white billionaire with a blackface NFT profile picture is saying GM to you, saying, "Wag me, friend."
This is a crazy
This is one of those-
choice. Why did he pick this one?
This is like the "How do you do, fellow kids" meme with the.
It's such a crazy choice on a million different levels. Even the smoking, even the NFT. Jay,
Maybe Reed secretly likes heaters.
Jay, that would be sick, I guess. Jay said this GM is proof that LinkedIn is 4 years behind on every news cycle. Pretty remarkable. How is this?
I think the crypto community loved it. To be honest,
Really?
I think
Just that
they
there's
were
a
pretty
new-
fired up. If
new
you're one of the
person
10,000 people that own
CryptoPunk?
a punk, this is a big
How are the
moment.
punks doing? Are they still hanging out, hanging around? Well, before we dive into that, we have Justin Murphy in the Restream waiting room. Let's bring him into the TBPN Ultradome. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm good. What's up, guys?
Good to
Suited
see
up.
you. You're looking.
You might be the
fantastic.
sharpest guest we've ever had. I love this. I love this suit. You're looking great.
Well, thank you.
You know, you're the
how I
reason.
dress.
You're the reason I use 1Password. You had some sort of course on like creativity or something, and the main thing I took away was use a password manager because you gave such an emphatic endorsement of password management, and I adopted it, and it changed my life, and I loved it. And then we interviewed the CEO of 1Password, and I was like, I love this. I learned this from Justin Murphy.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear. I'm an avid user of Lucy. I'll throw in as well.
Oh, let's
And,
go.
There we
How
go.
people don't use password managers is beyond me. I mean, even with password managers, it's living hell. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you solved that.
Yeah. maybe for the folks who aren't super familiar, what's the shape of your business? What's the shape of your day to day? I know you have a number of different outlets. I wanted to invite you on the show because I noticed you were live streaming and you actually mentioned us, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, because I love when when we like create some format and then other people can kind of spin off of it and whatnot. But how do you describe like your whole
life?
Like, yeah, your whole
person,
your cinematic universe, I suppose.
Yeah, so I mean, I left my very nice, cushy academic position about 6 years ago, and I left at that time with a very clear mission, which was to basically reinvent the scholarly life for the internet era.
Yeah.
I was watching sort of academia go downhill, and all the creator economy stuff was sort of kicking off, and it was clear that there would be ways to essentially port everything I was doing as a professor onto the internet, and I would just have to experiment and test a lot of things out and hustle and try to figure it out. So that was my mission 6 years ago, and it still is. I mean, that's my calling, that's my vocation. It always has been. Yeah. And I basically built a couple businesses, tried a few different models, and had moderate success with a few of them. And then I started having kids and kind of took a step back to kind of think about what this stuff really looks like, over the long term. I had a lot of successes, I had some failures as well. And that's when I decided what I really needed to do was sit down and write this book called The Independent Scholar to really map out the whole thing and really put this kind of new lifestyle and business model on the map. So basically the past couple years, past 2 or 3 years, I've kind of been in hiding, honestly. I've been having kids, figuring out how to do that, and writing this book to try to basically teach everything I've learned about this lifestyle and business model that I've built, and also to ground it in a kind of longer running history, because a lot of the greatest thinkers and philosophers and what I call independent scholars throughout history were actually free-floating individuals hacking it in weird entrepreneurial ways. And most people don't know about this history. And it was largely what inspired my kind of mission. So I decided I needed to do it right, sit down, take the time required, and put it down all in one place. So that's finishing up. And then I occasionally work with startups if something actually really interests me and seems, really exciting and asymmetric, and I like the people. So my life's really crazy right now just because a startup I started working with like 2 years ago. I was just sort of like consulting, kind of advising, helping out with the branding and messaging. They just keep winning, and this thing is like kicking off. So we're in the thick of it right now. That's called Nockchain. It's a layer 1 blockchain.
Yeah.
So that's kind of consuming everything at the moment. Apologies to the poor people who pre-ordered my book. A lot of people are waiting on it. It will come out by the end of this year. Mark my words. But right now, I'm in the weeds with Nockchain because this thing I think it's going off. So that's a summary. It's a little messy, but cool. I basically have accomplished my mission that I set out on 6 years ago, and I still haven't come up for enough air to tell the story fully, but I will. And I think I'm pretty proud of everything I've accomplished.
Yeah. How do you think about the just like the basic economic forces around like long time horizon content, which is how I would put investigative journalism and academia? It feels like social media and algorithmic feeds are like fantastically aligned with like news and kind of fast, high throughput creativity. Like just because if you're producing a lot of content regularly, there's a lot of ad inventory space, there's a lot of room for a little side partnership here, and it just kind of all flows together very easily. And I feel like Substack and the social media platforms have done a great job of providing an outlet for someone who would effectively be like a beat reporter or someone who's just a commentator, an analyst, somebody with a column, a weekly column in a newspaper. You can take that weekly column and you can go and develop an audience and monetize effectively. But if you're Seymour Hersh and you're going to get like one scoop a decade, and it's going to be something that reshapes the global political world order, really hard to underwrite that against like $10 a month on Substack. And so how are you thinking about like the long-term monetization summary, like forces that allow for like long time horizon work? Is that solved? Is there a good pattern there yet?
I have a very strong and clear answer to this after a tremendous amount of experimentation and also this kind of prolonged engagement with the history of independent scholars. I believe the answer to your question, John, is stage one is you have to get out there and you have to write a lot in stage one. So you don't necessarily have to be chasing, clicks or playing the engagement baiting game or whatever, but you do have to get out there. And inevitably, there's going to be some kind of volume game where like you have to get in the mix. But I don't think you have to do that actually for too long, because if you can just get out on places like X and have some kind of blog or newsletter and just or videos or whatever your medium is, if you can get out there and just put out interesting stuff that's intelligent and thoughtful and build even a small audience, nothing that you would be able to live on. But if you could just do that stage one of showing that you understand content, that you have real ideas, that you are really interesting and worth listening to, and that you can execute on a basic kind of, modern content operation. If you can do that for even a little bit, what you then do, stage two, is you get exposure to tech companies. That's really the missing link that people have not fully figured out. A lot of people have sort of accidentally figured this out. But the fact is that, Silicon Valley and technology is obviously the engine of all kind of radical wealth creation moving forward. And these companies need really educated, thoughtful, creative people who understand how to read real books and how to write really high quality copy and write thoughtful essays. This whole new world of sort of highbrow thought leadership is incredibly valuable to almost every company today. And the fact is, it's incredibly hard to hire for. Tech companies, really struggle to find sort of PhD tier intelligence for hire, and who also have any kind of understanding or experience with actually running modern content operations online. And so what I have found, and this I think is really the ticket, is that if you can just simply prove that you know what you're doing online with content, and you can build any kind of audience and just put out stuff that's worth reading, that someone smart could look at and be like, oh, this person's smart. He might not have 1 million followers. He might not have many followers at all, but clearly he publishes consistently. He's smart. He's got alpha. It's, I think, actually increasingly easy to find some sort of creative position with a startup or a tech company of some kind. And that's going to be your ticket to actual sustainable wealth and income, on which you can then do the really long form thought leadership. I've seen
basically use consulting fees from a tech company to bootstrap like a independent media platform.
Absolutely. And maybe some people don't want to build their own platform necessarily, like someone like Seymour Hersh or these kind of older guys. Like often they don't want to build a business, right? They don't want to build a whole thing. And for them, that's kind of a non-starter. But if you can finagle some kind of situation where you're adding value to, a growing tech company or even just a funded startup for a couple of years, even if they fail, like you can drive real value that they have a hard time hiring for. And in an ideal world, the company wins, and then you really have economic security to do your intellectual work over the long term. But even if you have to hustle this way for a few years in different projects, you can get a very decent paycheck, adding real value in a way that is actually quite conducive to your intellectual orientation and goals and lifestyle that you're building. So you don't necessarily need to build a company or a big media operation, but on that economic basis, you can definitely grow your audience in that time. You can write a really heavy hitting long form essay once every month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever the case might be. And in this way, and you start publishing your own books, and there's so many different ways to monetize, but the tech partnership, I think, is the big opportunity that a lot of people are sleeping on. People have done it. There are enough examples in addition to me to make me feel like this is obviously the future. But people haven't really systematized it yet, or kind of like written down a reproducible playbook yet.
Maybe it was, I don't want to get the person's name wrong, but there was someone who did like a philosopher in residence at a venture capital firm. And there's been a few people who have maybe partnered with like Stripe Press in one way or another, and kind of like pulled forward some income in various ways. There's definitely, different ways to like slice it. But I think you're right that there's just like, there's a pool of capital over there. And if you're able to provide some interesting service. I hadn't thought
basically,
about that.
If you want to be an independent scholar, get ready to hustle.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, but look, it's a hustle to get a job as a professor. It's a really bad hustle. It's absolutely grinding competition that is as brutal and as intellectually exhausting and suffocating as grinding on a startup for a few years, honestly. The only difference is you don't get paid very much at all, and also there's no upside. So, I mean, when you compare working for a startup or being creative and hustling with different kinds of creative positions in tech startups, you compare that to what it takes to get a full-time tenured position in academia. It's actually like more liberating and mentally kind of freeing and more conducive to a kind of creative intellectual life, frankly.
I had lunch with an academic couple months ago, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm having a kid in like 6 months," and I was like, "Go get a job at a lab right now," and he actually did. He got.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
No way. That's awesome.
And again, I think he'll be able to probably do more interesting work at the frontier with more resources. And I guess is part of this like sad that what's the downside here that the techno capital institutions are going to end up financing scholarly research and academia? Like,
No,
is
I
there
don't think it's
is it basically Lindy, like this has been happening for like hundreds and hundreds of years, and this is like not so different? Is that kind of what you're getting at with the book?
Yeah, exactly. It's not sad. I mean, contemporary academia is very sad. Living a life as a kind of cloistered professor today is incredibly sad. I can tell you from firsthand experience. And what we're talking about here with sort of the new breed of independent scholars joining forces with Silicon Valley, it is clearly part and parcel with a long-running continuous history. Because when you look at some of the most interesting and impactful thinkers and philosophers and creatives throughout all history, what you find with many of them is that they lived on the margins of institutions, both economically but also socially. And in multiple cases, what's really going on is they're looking for any kind of unexploited economic niche where they can just make some money in a way that is maximally conducive to a certain state of mind and a certain kind of lifestyle. And they are, really kind of opportunistic. Like they'll Spinoza was famously a lens grinder, right? This is at a time when being a lens grinder it's not as manual as it sounds. He was a kind of scientific and technical expert of optics. And to grind lenses was actually an interesting kind of philosophically and scientifically sophisticated industry. But it involved manual labor, and he sold his lenses to leading scientists of the era. And that's actually how he networked with some of the brightest lights in European science and philosophy. That's how he got on people's radar, and that's how he earned their respect. Actually, is from the quality of his lenses that he was grinding. And this is in my book. And so Samuel Johnson is another interesting example. He's a case study in the book. Samuel Johnson, people don't know this. In the early 18th century, he basically kind of invented the Substack model, and this is before there was even email. I kid you not. So he did paid subscription newsletters by print. Well before email, obviously, and he would just write essays twice a week, and he would walk them to the printer's office and where the mail goes out or whatever, and he would send them off twice a week by post. And he made a living doing this for quite a few years. He was at the end of the patronage era, so he was well known in elite circles as one of the most brilliant, genius thinkers and writers and conversationalists of the time. And he never got a patron. He never got the bag. He was always forced to hustle. He was always doing creative things, and that was one of them. And he managed to do it, and ended up changing the English language in many ways. One of the most impactful kind of scholars of his lifetime. And so, to answer your question. Silicon Valley and tech startups today are just the current manifestation of this. Like independent scholars always have to look, where is the money? Where's the opportunity? Where can I use my brain power in the way that is maximally adding value, but also maximally conducive to me having freedom and time and being able to think clearly and provocatively? And it's obvious now, when you look at this, that in the United States, perhaps in the West more broadly, Silicon Valley is now the site of that.
Why do you think Silicon Valley is obsessed with Nick Land?
There's still a tremendous amount of alpha there that people have not fully been able to grok because it's it is dense and a little bit difficult to read. Yeah. But that's the reason, is because there's real alpha there and people know it, and no one really has the time or the patience to kind of work through it. But they know the alpha is there, and that's why they're all obsessed with it.
What is the nature of the alpha? Just investing theses? Or like lifestyle, how you live your life, or predicting the future and what the shape of the political economy will be?
I would say, there are many specific things you could look at. If you look at his writing on AI back in the 90s, it's incredibly prescient and much more so than even you compare Nick Land's early writings to someone like Nick Bostrom, writing about AI much more recently, and a lot of Nick Land's texts actually match reality much more, I would say. But the reason, so you could double click on many sort of specific ideas, I guess. But the high level answer to your question, John, is that there is this kind of ideological problem in Silicon Valley. Across the board. I mean, the big intellectual problem with Silicon Valley is that everyone is a backpatter. Everyone is mutually invested in each other, so everyone is backpatting everyone else. I mean, just structurally, right? I mean, it's not even not throwing shade at any individual, but just literally everyone is invested in each other. And so pretty much all public content that you see is, it's someone speaking their book, and that's fine, and that's America, and that's cool. Like that's the world that we live in. But there is just a big sort of one big drawback to that, which is that people are too like pro-social, is the way that I would put it. In Silicon Valley, no one wants to be, anti-human or anti-social, right? Because it's not. It doesn't sound very nice. It sounds a little scary. Maybe you don't want to invest in that. Maybe
no,
that
we had this.
Like,
we had this morning as a team. John, Tyler, and I were sitting around. We had a post that will not be posted that was like genuinely had us all in tears, but there's one group that would be, taking the brunt of the joke, and we like them, we're friendly with them, and it wasn't something we were going to share. And so, there's this pressure to be social, which in some ways is healthy. Like in some ways that stems from like, this is a culture that somebody can move to San Francisco and be a nobody, and in 2 years be an icon. And that's positive, but it also means that the culture is like, I'm not going to do anything antisocial here because 2 years from now, this person, I might be trying to lead their round, right? And so,
exactly. And so the issue with technological acceleration is that it is a brutal kind of machinic global process that's been happening for hundreds of years, and we know a lot about it, and a lot of it does not look very pretty for a lot of humans. Not all humans, but for a lot of humans. And so when you really try to model this really rigorously without any kind of pro-social biases and without any of the kind of human ideological filters that frankly most Silicon Valley players are forced to kind of lay over their thinking and their publishing, you see like no one in Silicon Valley really is able to talk frankly about kind of the underlying brutality and the really kind of scary structural elements involved with capital acceleration. But Nick Land does that in a very aggressive way, and that's the source of the alpha, basically.
Well, and Dario's hasn't been. I mean, I'm sure the Anthropic comms team freaks out every time he goes and gives a talk and says, 80% of, or whatever the statistic he's saying, it's some large percentage of white collar work is going to disappear. And then they kind of like walk it back a little bit, but clearly like the message is being received.
Well, but notice that whenever you do hear some Silicon Valley thought leader or big player come out and say something that's kind of antisocial or bad or scary, there's always kind of immediately behind it the solution that they're providing that will make it all okay. You know what I mean? So the thing with Nick Land is you got a really hardcore, I think, very rigorous model of modernity and capital acceleration, which has no such convenient solution hiding in the background to sell you. And when you look at that, stone cold in the eyes, most Silicon Valley people don't want to hear it. But on the other hand, they know there's alpha there, so they kind of can't look away from it either.
In Machine Desire, there's this concept of like artificial intelligence being this time traveling force, an invasion from the future. As a human, that makes me feel like I want to fight it. Is that the right desire? Is that the human desire to counter the machinic desire?
So Land does introduce this idea. Well, he doesn't introduce it, but he very much plays up this mental model that you get from the Terminator movies.
Yep.
That, yes, capital is this kind of time traveling entity that comes back and not only kind of composes itself from us, but just as the Terminator movie suggests, comes back and kind of composes itself out of enemy resources. So there is in that kind of model an implicit kind of antagonistic structure, but I'm not so convinced of that, frankly. I think the fact is that capital acceleration will be quite brutal for some people, for many people. I mean, it clearly shreds apart sort of modernity and technology shred apart traditional values and morals. I mean, even Marx knew that. I mean, Marx perhaps knew that better than anyone. That has been clear. That has been clear for a very long time. And whatever the errors of Marx were, and the terrible kind of tragedies that came downstream of his ideas, the critics of capitalism in the early modern period were structurally onto something. Okay, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, it absolutely shreds any vestige of any kind of traditional morality, basically. And that is sociologically true beyond question, in my opinion. And so play that forward, it's going to be ugly for a lot of people, I think. But I think all we can do really is try to basically, try to stay one step ahead, be honest and rigorous and aggressive, and take the risks necessary to bet on the truth and try to just stay ahead of the machines and try to take with you all of your friends and family and everyone in your tribe. There's really no other solution. And I think personally that it actually goes in a more positive direction than some of Nick Land's texts seem to suggest. I think it actually matches much more clearly to something like The City of God by St. Augustine, where basically the good people and the bad people increasingly kind of diverge over time. So technological acceleration kind of pulls these people apart, what he calls the city of God on the one hand and the city of man on the other. What technology really does is it accentuates the differences between people who are oriented to heaven and the truth and the good and people who are oriented towards anything else. So if you're oriented towards anything else, you're going to go down fast. You're going to get wrecked, I think, and increasingly fast thanks to technological acceleration.
You're chopped.
Where? How do you summarize the current discourse? Because I would loosely group it into general fear among the broader white collar class and potentially even blue collar, because you have people outside of tech are worried about automation and losing their jobs, and it sounds like you think that's a very maybe the correct concern to have. Inside of tech is kind of like bifurcated into people that are thinking like, okay, OpenAI just is starting to look more and more like Facebook every single day. They have Sora, they're going to introduce ads, they're introducing commerce. This just looks like a big tech company. And then you have people at labs that just believe just wait, just one more training run, bro. AGI is right around the corner, but it's hard to actually read too much into what they're saying because they obviously have, tens of millions to hundreds of millions to billions of dollars of equity tied up in these narratives that are kind of dependent on those scenarios playing out to some degree. But how would you kind of summarize it, and where do you think it is, even a year from today?
Yeah. So again, I think a lot of these categories that people use to parse this phenomenon are just totally wrong, and they're totally ideological. So, for instance, the jobs story, that's all people can come up with to think about the devastating impacts of technological acceleration. We're going to lose our jobs. We're going to lose our jobs. So everything potentially bad about AI gets shoehorned into this one topic of are people going to lose their jobs? It's much more complicated and in some ways worse, but in some ways better. So the better way to think about it is really just that with all technological acceleration, everyone has to hustle harder, basically. You have to work to stay ahead, to succeed. You have to work really, really hard and increasingly hard. And yes, there is more surplus. People are wealthier on average. That is true. So, a kind of poor person in America has exposure to a lot of really nice things that obviously, only kings could have in the past. So that story is true. But nonetheless, to actually build a life that is healthy, and happy and sustainable, you have to be incredibly smart and sharp and judge and making good decisions about a number of different things in all aspects of your lifestyle. And you have to be working super hard, and you have to be dodging this existential threat. Like, nowadays, I mean, think about how much research you have to do on like food just to stay healthy, right? Like you have to be incredibly smart and sharp, and you have to hustle increasingly hard just to survive the chaos of technological acceleration. And so AI is just a kind of a further acceleration of that. It's going to get more and more insane. The payoff will be bigger for people who are right and who keep their head on their shoulders. For those people, the payoffs are going to be bigger and bigger. But for everyone else who can't keep up with this kind of shredder of traditional norms, you do fall behind. And it's not a matter of losing your job. It's a matter of like your whole family is opiate addicts because they got one-shotted by complex processes that they had no chance of even understanding.
When does this start? Like, if we take the time travel analogy, should we start this whole story in 1860 when GDP really starts to accelerate? Is that the beginning? Do we go back earlier? Is this latest like AI boom anything special? Karpathy on Dorkesh was kind of saying like, no, like this is just an extension of computing.
So this is an interesting research question about how do you really mark that breaking point associated with modernity and technological acceleration. Yeah. People have very different answers. I think it's an interesting kind of empirical debate. I've always kind of been partial to Heidegger's answer. If you read Heidegger's The Question Concerning Technology, he seems to think that the key break point was when we started storing energy, basically. So like he says the windmill, for instance, was fine because the windmill just sits there. Nature kind of operates on it, and it can create energy. And that's, he seems to think, that's my reading, is that it's fine. But when we start storing it, when we're putting it in batteries and we're putting it into these different containers, he seems to suggest that that's kind of the breaking point, because that's where you can start to sort of run much farther ahead of the future, because you can store these things
that's
up,
like,
right?
I have a stockpile of coal and I have a steam engine, and I can build up a larger pile of energy, and then I can deploy it all in one jolt to jump forward.
Right. And then the Marxists have this kind of theory that they like to say that it's the enclosure of the commons. So like it really starts in England. There were for aeons these traditional norms of anyone could kind of graze on the commons, and much of the land was commons. And then at a certain point, there's a specific kind of decision made where they start enclosing it in order to capitalize on it and privatizing it. And some people point to that as the kind of the breaking point. You can give many examples, and people kind of debate that. I think it's sort of very hard to answer conclusively, but those are some possible answers that I think are interesting.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think the escape the permanent underclass meme is actually healthy then? Because it's basically is encouraging people to sharpen up, avoid the pressure to just quit your job and gamble on meme coins, avoid becoming immersed.
I have a completely different take on this, and I want your reaction too. Is I feel like the future things playing out in the kind of the darker scenarios, like there's a massive underclass, but there's no permanence whatsoever, and on any day-to-day basis, somebody could go 1,000x up and become extremely wealthy, and then everything collapse and go back down to the underclass. And I feel like the volatility is actually increasing way higher, and we're actually getting more underclass, but also less permanence. But what's your take on the permanent underclass meme?
So that meme, I actually think, is a rare good one that is directionally correct in an important way, and that actually gets more to the heart of the threat and the brutality of economic acceleration, much more so than the jobs meme. That is the kind of anxiety, that is the general diffuse anxiety and fear that everyone feels and is right to feel. You are forced to feel that with capital acceleration and its current inflection with the AI revolution. So I think that's basically that is spot on in terms of the generalized kind of threat and problem.
It feels like durable because everyone feels it, and it feels like, like you're saying, like it's somewhat real, right? It's like the techno capital acceleration. People feel it. They realize that making the $20 million in 3 years is a lot better than making the $20 million in 25 years or whatever historical timelines look like.
it's worth noting that it's kind of self-enforcing as well, because if that's a meme and you know other people feel that way, then you really have to trust it and you better get after it, because even if you think it's false in stage one, right? If you think other people are buying into it, you think, okay, everyone else is going to be hustling harder. They're going to be getting the bag. And shoot, even though I thought this was false, now they're all getting it. I better get after it or I'm going to get crushed and left behind. And so, yeah, I mean, what a lot of people say is that capitalism produces so much surplus that you can just choose to not participate in the rat race and, just enjoy the surplus. But that's not totally true, because the things that we really want in life and that really matter to us are often relative. Things like recognition and identity and, standing in a community. These things are relative. And so it doesn't really help that much that you can, have a big screen TV for really cheap. You can have many other material.
It's clear really like everyone will be entertained in the future. You will not need to be elite to be entertained. Yeah. Like, you're going to be entertained. You're going to have the screen. You're going to be able to put on the headset. You're going to be able to take any range of telemedicine drugs to make you feel anything. You will be entertained. You'll maybe have a 1 in a 10,000 chance every week to like escape or whatever. But I do think it's notable that we transitioned from a pull yourself up by your bootstraps culture, which was like, if you just do anything in America in the early 19th century, you can get a house, you can live you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps to live the American dream. And now the American dream is on the other side of escaping the permanent underclass. At least the American dream that you were sold as a kid of having a home in a desirable area and sending your kids to college and
the American dream was the middle class. It was the default.
Right. I mean, frankly, I think the big antidote to all of this, the other pole of this entire problem that we're talking about is, of course, crypto, I believe. I mean, in so many ways, it's sort of diametrically kind of opposed to AI, or it's like perfectly poised to be kind of the solution to a lot of this. Because one way to understand technological acceleration is, especially in kind of human societies with all of the faulty human wetware that we have, is that it becomes this like big lying game. Like, everything gets inflated. Like, the money supply is really just kind of a metaphor for many other things where there's a ton of inflation, right? Like verbal inflation, credential inflation. It's in a way, like, modernity is this mad race to kind of inflate all kinds of things, and we get ahead of our skis in many ways, and that's why that's why it's so cutthroat, because other people are inflating, so you have to inflate or you die. And so human society and modernity is totally torn asunder from all of its traditional values and traditional anchorings. Everyone is competing in this mad materialistic race to stay afloat, which is mimetic, and even if you don't want to do it, you kind of have to do it. Meanwhile, crypto is this cryptographic protocols are truth machines, basically. They kind of restore integrity and kind of like primordial, almost physical truths to this kind of chaotic, constantly inflating kind of material modern world. And so my mental model is very much that the reason you're seeing, the reason the early stages of crypto have been so chaotic and crazy with, so many stories of big crashes and crimes and so many kind of scammers and the reason it's so crazy like that is because people intuitively understand that this crypto stuff is the next big vector through which humanity will be able to secure its future. And so the people who rush into that first are a wild grab bag of sketchy people, I think. But it's going to be the thing that it's going to be the only thing that puts kind of grounding on all of modern chaos. And you see this, that's what Bitcoin does, right? That Bitcoin is literally just regrounds money and physical resource kind of anchoring.
One suggestion. Crazy idea for you before you jump, and then we'll have to do this.
This has been really fun.
Soon.
Thank you so much for helping.
Instead of a book, how about you buy a Lambo and you sell a course? I will teach you to escape.
I've paid for his course. He has a course.
Escape the permanent underclass by becoming an independent scholar.
I mean,
you could be the Andrew Tate of independent scholars.
That's one option, but I don't think so, man. That's Nockchain. That's the role of Nockchain. We say escape the leveling process. I don't think you should worry about escape. I don't like the phrase, escape the permanent underclass, because it's much more general. You have to escape the leveling process. There is a long-running, gradual historical gradient that is trying to sort of destroy everything of traditional value. Everything that is permanent and timeless is getting sort of eroded or hidden and kind of taken away from you. And like, you want to escape the leveling process. And that's why we're building Nockchain. That's what it's all about. Escape the leveling process.
That's very cool. Well, thank you so much.
This was super fun.
This was a great conversation. Would love to have you back on and go deeper. Everyone really enjoyed this. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This
Cheers.
was fun.
We'll talk to you soon. We have our next guest in the Restream waiting room, but first, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. #1 in performance benchmarks, #1 in competitive bake-offs, #1 ranking on G2. Let's bring in our guest from the Restream waiting room. We have
Darren, what's going on?
What's up? How are we?
Second time on the show. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'll let you take this.
Sweet. Great to have you back. What's happening in your world? Here you've been flipping pretty hard. So break it down for us.
So this weekend, a 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth, sold for $3 million less than the guy bought it in 2023.
Brutal.
Making it the biggest card loss of all time.
No way.
Now,
I thought they only went up.
Yes. So did that. Adam Smith never said that. No, never. So, it's very interesting to me because I don't like to admit when I don't know something. But when I first heard of this card was when Collectible, which was one of those fractional share companies that went bust, when they said they were buying a piece of it, I think it turned out to be like a 1% piece for a value of $6 million. And I had said, I've never heard of the 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth. So I did a little research. Newspapers.com is probably the best value that I have. I mean, $150 a year for all the newspaper stuff. I mean, wow.
That's crazy. I'm actually not familiar. This sounds incredible because we're always, we have a little recurring segment on social. We talk about this day in history. I'm sure we could get a bunch of alpha.
Oh, you can get, now hopefully they didn't see this because I've been subscribing for a long time and they're not too good at business because
you'd pay like 10x more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I looked and tried to see when the first mention of the 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth is, again, because I didn't know, and I think I know everything.
Yep.
The 2006 Durham Herald-Sun. That was the first mention, at least on what newspapers, and they have a lot of newspapers in there. That was the first mention of the 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth. So I kind of have this theory that people don't think it was a card.
Interesting.
On the back is a schedule. So it's Babe Ruth in the minor leagues the year before his rookie year. And it has a schedule of who they're playing. And it came in a newspaper, and it was a 10-card set.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why I think this guy lost was because there's only so many people that know this. A lot of people buy cards and big cards so that they can say they have the big card. And when someone says, I have the big card, oh, what card is that? I've never heard of it. It's a whole lot different to have a T206 Honus Wagner or a 1952 Mickey Mantle than to have the 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth. And so I think that's why the guy got it handed to him.
Okay. And do you think the person that just paid $4 million for it knows that it might not be a real card?
No, I'd like to know who it was that bought it, but I don't think I'm going to find that out. Again, it's a real card by a lot of standards. So after I looked at the 2005, 2007 Durham Sun, I did more research, and people had mentioned it in the early 80s. So they'd mention it in passing. But to me, it doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence that something that was beginning in 1914 until 1980, no one talks about it. I'm just not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. So that's my take. Might not be everyone's take, but it's my take.
What does it say about, do you think other people that own, own some of these like flagship cards are a little bit concerned now about the like real market value of whatever they're holding, or is this like a one-off? Like
no, the market is as hot as ever. I sold 31 things this weekend on Heritage auctions, and some of the prices that I got were amazing. Some are painful in terms of really able to do this. Like I just it's hard to sell. It's always hard to sell. But I got some really awesome prices too. So this is the question.
Did you buy 31 times two to just even it out?
Well, you tell the wife you didn't. You say, I made so much money. That's how it works. And then, there's a different bank account that then goes out. It's all about trust because in the end, I'm married 17 years. It's all about trust. It's all about we are going to win anyway. We're doing it for our family. Yep. So I did buy a massive, massive, massive piece about 2 weeks ago, and I had to clear some room.
Did it clear some room? But yeah, this is investing, right? So we made a lot of money. We're going to invest some of it again. That's how it goes.
Talk to me about
you have.
Talk to me about Ohtani on the Dodgers because my family. I'm not super into baseball, but I do go to the occasional game. I often get Ohtani bobbleheads.
I was so confused. By the way, I had a Dodgers hat on, not because I'm a fan of the Dodgers. It's just a green hat, and I like New York City. I've always.
Wait, what?
I was wearing
New York City.
They made a green Dodgers hat.
Oh, okay.
So I was wearing a green Dodgers hat, and
it was for the Brooklyn
on
Dodgers?
Saturday. So many people were telling me were yelling baseball things.
Oh,
at me.
Okay.
I'm like, I wear this hat all the time. Why is everyone yelling? And then I found out from the security in my neighborhood that the World Series was happening. That's how I learned the World Series. So we're out of the loop here,
wow,
but we're
that is quite. You guys have to pay a little bit more attention.
We do.
Well, no, I'm more interested in the I'm more interested in the market than the just alts market in general than the actual game being played.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, but my question about Ohtani is that I've been getting bobbleheads when I go to the game, but it feels like there's the market. Like the equilibrium in the market is beating expectations, right? Because if there's really high expectations, a lot of products are produced, right? And so where are we on like clearing prices around Ohtani? Is he blowing out expectations and so market prices are rising or is there a different dynamic?
Yeah, absolutely everywhere. Yeah. So Fanatics has a deal with Ohtani and they're buying up all the Babe Ruth balls because they want to have Ohtani sign the Babe Ruth balls and then sell them. So if you're looking
what do you think about that? Is that not like?
I don't want it. I want Babe. Now Babe Ruth signed plenty. He signed a tremendous amount. To me, the value of Babe Ruth single sign balls are going up. Because they are buying in the back room, they're buying as many so that they can put Ohtani on it. The bobbleheads, the bobbleheads since 1997. It's amazing the life of bobbleheads and the lines of the bobbleheads. The Dodgers did a really good job gamifying it, so you have to gamify it for the degenerates and the youth. We live in a degenerate economy, and so you have to have 10 that are golden and only a couple that come with the dog, and and then that really kind of. Jams up eBay. So the Dodgers have done a good job, but bobbleheads,
why does it jam up eBay? By jamming up, you mean just makes it popular?
Yes, yeah.
Got it. Yeah,
people really like to go to buy their bobbleheads on eBay. It's amazing to me that that's been going for 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not another thing.
The market is it's so crazy. I don't know if it's always like this, but when I go to Dodger Stadium and they give me a bobblehead, there will always be someone inside the stadium who paid for a ticket
who offers.
Who offers. And you think about, okay, what is the sunk cost of that ticket? They're not actually watching the game. They're there just to acquire the actual merchandise.
By the way, I got to
but it
jump in.
pencils out.
I misspoke. I meant it was a green Yankees.
I was about to say, everyone is wondering what you're talking
no, it was
about.
a Yankees
I'm not going to
hat
come
that-
on anymore if you guys don't know the difference between a Dodgers and a Yankees logo.
I do know, but I have
I
both.
know.
I have both. I have a Yankees hat and a Dodgers hat, and I wear them interchangeably.
Okay.
And so I just like to confuse the people in my
that's why,
neighborhood.
yeah.
They don't.
I mean,
they don't
the
know.
Dodgers were in New York at one point. They were in the Brooklyn, but
I
you
didn't
were
even- I
wearing
didn't
it.
know that.
They were.
Wait, but then why were people talking to you
were.
about the? Were you
Well, no,
wearing a
I just
Yankees
was. I
hat?
just was wearing. I was wearing a baseball hat.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a World Series, so I didn't know why people kept yelling like
Yeah.
random baseball related
Okay.
things at me. Like, people were just
Well,
cheering
the
for the
Yankees haven't won the World Series since 2009, so you should know that. So they're in a 16-year drought right now.
It's not good.
brutal.
Not good.
What? Yeah. So why would this person that just sold for? Do you think this was a forced seller, like somebody that just had to
Yes,
get out?
I think-
Like, otherwise you would just sit on it.
I think so. I think so for sure. I mean, I always say that the assets that are in this space are not its; they are what's. And if you, there's no absolute here, right? It is when do you sell it?
Yeah.
What auction house are you selling it? What's the description in the auction house? What's the publicity? What's the marketing? These all play. It's like when someone says to me, hey, I'm going to invest in Ohtani because he's playing well. I said, collecting isn't fantasy. Collecting isn't fantasy baseball. Collecting is a amalgamation of all the factors that go in.
Yeah.
Right? It's how many people collect Ohtani. What is the worth of the people who collect Ohtani? What is their ability when it's going down to stay and hold? And if you're a 35-year-old man with money and you collect what people who are 16 to 20 collect, you better know, because they don't have the wherewithal to hold on if it goes down, and then that affects you.
Yeah.
Or you better know if there's a guy who owns 600 of them.
Yeah.
Because, again, those are the market factors at play. It's not as simple as a game of fantasy.
Yeah. Do you have any insight into what's going on at GameStop? We had the CEO of GameStop, Ryan Cohen, on the show, and he was talking about prize packs, or what was it?
Okay.
Power packs.
So let me. This is a fun one.
Yes.
So repacks are
Yes.
like the new thing. There are digital repacks are even crazier. Now, people who are watching the show, I'm now going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Digital repacks. This is how digital repacks work. You open a pack digitally. That card really exists in the company's coffers or vault.
Inventory.
Okay.
Yeah.
You open it. You don't like it. So you pay $25 for it, and it's $8 in value. Then they immediately offer, do you want to exchange it at 80% of the value? And then you're like, okay, I'm comparing this to gambling where it's a zero-sum game. If I lose, I'm zero.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, I only lose 20%. And so these companies like Courtyard and Arena Club who do these digital, by the way, then it goes back into the pack. They could sell the same card 30 times a day.
Wow.
And they show you
Seems
the
like a good
checklist. They show
business.
you, the checklist. So Courtyard did 70 million this past month.
Yep.
It is going nuts. Anyway, GameStop. What GameStop has done is it has a relationship with PSA, where people can grade their cards. And a normal company, and since GameStop is always going to be to me a meme stock,
Yep.
a normal company would be very worried about taking submissions from from people holding the card and then sending it to PSA. Right? If this was another company that was a Fortune 100 company, you would be really scared about the liability of this. But I feel like GameStop has a little bit more flexibility than most. And so they are the biggest player in this game. And it is really, we've written about it on Collect a lot. It is really interesting.
How are startups faring in all of this? You have GameStop playing here, Fanatics, a couple that you just mentioned. You have Heritage. I feel like the big auction houses have been surprisingly durable against upstarts coming to their markets. If you look at the automotive industry,
Everyone is like every industry. Everyone wants the multiple, so they're all in the tech. That's what they do, right? They want the SaaS model. That's what everyone's after. So originally there was card scanning where it told you what the price is. A lot of people were coming out of COVID and they're like, I have a bucket full of stuff and no one's going to go through it, so I'm going to have to scan it. Who's the best scanner? And then we had too many scanners. And so there's just there's a lot of information. There's a lot of people fighting. I don't know who the winner is. Fanatics is all over the place. It is probably, in terms of monopoly, they are probably the number one monopoly in any business today in terms of having a stronghold on so many things. So it makes it
do you
hard
think that'll
to
do you
get
think that'll
into
keep
business.
do you think that'll keep just compounding?
It depends. It depends what teams and leagues, whether they, teams and leagues want to take the bag and they're going to give the biggest bag. Now, if you choose to, build it by yourself, then that's a little bit different. But as of right now, that's what we're looking at. Some of the parts of the consulting part of my company, it helps teams and leagues and brands get into this and help, build by themselves. But, right now, Fanatics is the 2 million pound gorilla. It should be interesting to see what they're going to do with gambling because, I just think the 1 and 2 are FanDuel and DraftKings, and I don't even think it pays to be 3, given how much the business costs and the consumer acquisition.
Yeah.
What about how much attention have you been paying to prediction markets entering sports? Obviously they've been at it for a while, but it feels like.
You mean Polymarket?
Kalshi, it's really heating up.
I'm as someone who was in gambling for a long time, I'm shocked that Polymarket and Kalshi got to the place that they did. Sure, they always had kind of that like we're peer to peer, but I can't believe that. Just like Prize Picks, I can't believe that they got to where they did in their valuation, because I always thought that the lobby of DraftKings and FanDuel and Fanatics and Caesars and the old casinos, I always thought that they were going to win. The tribes, yeah. The Seminole tribe, I thought the lobbies would win. So I'm actually shocked. I always thought that Polymarket and Kalshi would be kind of lower end and never really break through, and that has not proven to be the case.
What is the secret to Fanatics' success? Like, it feels like there was a time when every team and maybe every league had their own kind of merchandising operation. I remember being able to, as a kid, go and buy an NFL jersey. And then at some point, Fanatics finagled the ultimate deal and got everyone in the room together. And
they came with the bag of cash.
Is that what it was? Is the founder just a fantastic deals guy? Just got all the money and.
Well, Michael Rubin has he has a great story.
Yeah.
If you don't know this story, I'll quickly tell it. But
please.
He owned GSI Commerce, which was essentially around the turn of the century, around 2000. All these companies were saying, oh, we could do a virtual warehouse. We could do our warehouse virtually. And Michael said, I'll do a physical warehouse. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to your consumer a day faster. And I'll take the risk that 7% of the time, Jeremy Lin is going to get traded from the Knicks to the Rockets, and I'll have 9,000 Jeremy Lin dolls in a room. Because if I win every business, it doesn't matter if I have waste. All these other guys are not taking any sort of risk. They're just opening a virtual warehouse. And so that was his way to get there. And he got everyone's business. And then eBay bought it from him for $2.3 billion. And then they said, oh, but we don't want to compete with our consumers, so we'll give you the sports business. And then he turned Fanatics into a $20 billion business. So, he did benefit from getting the he did benefit from getting the biggest guys who, some of them overvalued the market, right? He got big SoftBank money, and that helped because money was money, and they took whatever valuation. Obviously they had to write down on a lot of businesses, but he got the right money, and he has the right connections. He knows the owners well. He knows everyone so well. and so they feel like it's a good relationship. Makes it really hard to get into the game.
Do you think it's niche enough that he'll never face like anti-monopoly pressure?
If he hasn't now, he will.
Last question.
I mean, I can't
Blue Jays or Dodgers tonight? Who are you rooting for?
I am rooting for the Stars to be the Stars because that's better for my market.
Okay.
So if Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette and Ohtani and all those guys are the Stars, that's great. What I don't want is I don't want a no-name hitting a home run, even though you can say, oh, he's going to grow his own market.
Yep.
I'm more benefited by the big guys getting bigger.
You want
that's
the
what I'm
winners to
rooting
keep
for.
winning. Okay, you want to let your
You got
winners
it.
ride.
That's right.
Thank you for all the context. I feel like
You got
truly
love being on
could
your
only-
show. You guys are very curious. And,
This is very fun. I
hopefully
really
have some
learn a lot. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming on.
learn
This
a
is
lot
really,
every
really
time.
great.
Let's do it again soon.
We'll talk to you
got it.
soon. Have a
See you
great
guys.
rest of your
Good luck
day. I clearly need to learn a lot more about sports. I've been spending too much time learning about CRMs. I've been learning about ADIO, customer relationship magic. ADIO is the AI native CRM that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Jordy,
I mean, it is hilariously ironic that we always make jokes about not knowing about sports, and then of course I try to talk about sports and get brutally mix up a team. But
our next guest is Guillermo Rao from Vercel. Welcome to the TBPN Ultradome. Guillermo, how are you doing? Do you know about sports? I know you know Counter-Strike. Do you know sports?
I know a lot about Counter-Strike. I know some about soccer, being from Argentina.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah.
Baseline. And jiu-jitsu, which I
jiu-jitsu.
just started doing. So I know as much as one class, but I'm ready.
Okay.
okay,
but
did you get brutally injured in the first class? Because
No, I
there's
brutally overcame because I boxed for many years.
Oh,
okay.
So I had some baseline
There you go.
fight in me.
I got into jujitsu briefly, and it's like it's an incredible workout. It's so fun. It's like perfectly competitive and skill based.
Yeah.
You know, you can like clearly level up. And then I just saw that like every guy in the gym that was over 40 that had been doing it for like 20 years would just be like hobbling in, you know, all these different injuries. And I got a little scared around, you know, destroying all of my joints. But but I guess if you're in the right gym, it's probably better for longevity.
Yeah,
Well-
we're working down the tech CEO checklist, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
AI, jiu-jitsu, more to come.
Well, we missed you a week ago. We've been bopping around, but give us the latest news in Vercel world. What's the latest on your side?
Well, I mean, the big one is our funding at $9.3 billion valuation. 300. Didn't realize we had that. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Insane.
Painful to miss a gong.
Insane.
Oh yes,
300
this is
million in primary, 300 million secondary, led by.
I don't know if you can hear, but this is a good omen. The gong is still ringing.
Still ringing.
Still ringing a little bit.
Did it ever stop?
It never
It
stops.
might never stop.
Yeah,
The
you might be
final
back
hit.
here with the Series G before it stops ringing. Hopefully. What's the what are you actually capital constrained on? Is it just hire more people, build a better product? Are you actually like a big consumer of AI data factories, token factories? Are you spending a lot on inference right now?
Well, clearly not too
Where's the-
capital constrained because half of it was secondary.
Yeah.
So, chapter one of Vercel was providing the developer experience to developers to build pages.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being overly simplistic, right? But the world is going from pages to agents.
Yeah.
So it's not that the web services of the internet are going to be irrelevant, but if you think about the cloud was born with Amazon Web Services. The next chapter of the internet is going to be AI services. So Vercel is building the AI cloud, and we felt, and obviously investors felt this way too, that this is worth, a very, very big bet. Because every type of software will become AI native software, and the new primitive of the cloud will be the agent. And this requires new services. It requires new frameworks. Something that developers and investors are really excited about is our AI SDK. You can think of it as the React of AI. So the most popular package for developers to use to build AI agents, and it's growing basically vertically, like something we've never seen before at Vercel, and we've been doing open source for a long time.
Is that driven by new ideas, new companies, startups that are coming up, and instead of spinning up just a website or a web app, they're spinning up an actual agent that then they get new customers for? Is that
That's right?
It's mostly net new customers.
It's a lot of net new, but also I think a lot of enterprises are going to basically leapfrog their classic digital transformation journey, and just go to agents directly. And what this is resulting in is a whole new set of demands for the cloud that were never there before. Software is running for a lot longer, which is fascinating from a compute standpoint. Obviously, investors are excited about GPU compute, but now we're seeing all of these new types of software that are just running, like thinking and producing, obviously demanding tokens, but running for minutes, hours, days. We call this workflows. And so we hosted our Vercel Ship AI conference the other day, and we basically came with an actual definition of what an agent is. And agents basically remind us a lot of the old types of software that people were excited about maybe decades ago, which is like this workflows and business processes that look like nodes connected in a graph and have all of these steps. It turns out that kind of software, which we'll now call agent, is actually kind of hard for developers to write, especially the ones that were used to creating like the typical SaaS type of software. So Vercel is sort of becoming the default place where this new kind of agentic workflow is born.
How are you thinking about hardware or your own cloud, your own physical infrastructure? It feels like that was crazy to talk about 5 years ago, but now there are neoclouds. I know people who have just stood up whole data centers. And so if you came to me and said, yeah, as part of this fundraising round, we're also going to spin up a couple different data centers and we're going to be on our own infrastructure in a few years, I'd be like, yeah, that doesn't sound crazy to me at all. But how are you thinking about it?
Well, Vercel is in this incredibly unique position that developers come to us because of the developer experience.
Sure.
We can actually automatically make the best infrastructure decisions on their behalf.
Okay.
And today that's sitting on top of the hyperscalers because
you
they give us
so
much flexibility.
Yeah.
So for example, a couple of years ago, you could have made the wrong hardware decision because you were going to say, well, all my CPU workloads are going to be like short burst, really immediate, CPU bound, rendering based. Well, it turns out that a lot of the new workloads are agents that are spending a lot of time thinking. So you need new kinds of compute, you need new kinds of software infrastructure to support these workloads. And I believe that the hyperscaler clouds still give us the most flexibility there. Also, keep in mind that a lot of these agents need to be in close proximity to the enterprise data. So yeah, the neo clouds are exciting, but you kind of want to be in the cloud from a security perspective, regulatory, and also latency. I do think there's something to the cloud that is a bit of a rich get richer scenario when it comes to latency, because you need to fetch data. You need to do RAG. You need to get actual context into the models. And every millisecond of latency that you waste there is actually very, very costly. So on one hand, proximity to the cloud and being in the cloud gives us a great advantage. On the other hand, because we offer services like our AI gateway, we also make them compete frenetically. So at Next.js Conf, we announced the Next.js evals, which is basically what I call sort of the like oracle of truth of how good your model is at coding real world workloads with things like Next.js.
I was
going to say our developers really benefit from the fact that we let them choose. They're not bound to a specific model.
How are you thinking about integrations with consumer AI apps? I feel like there's a world where I go to Gemini or I go to ChatGPT and I am iterating through a prompt and kind of laying out let's say I want to make a landing page for a new startup. And I've kind of figured out the value props and the customer testimonials and how I'm going to wireframe everything out. And then I want to actually deploy it right now. I don't think I can do that within any of the consumer grade chat apps. They're going to kick me over and say, hey, go set up this account. But there's a world where that doesn't need to happen, but it's a delicate balance because you don't want them to be like, now we're on top of you and fully. And so how are you thinking about like onboarding like almost like prosumer creators?
So on my blog, I drew these parallels between the Cloud 1.0 and the AI cloud. And so you have, the poster child of frameworks was React and Next.js. Now it's going to be the AI SDK. Before we had CDN for delivering pages and images. Now we have the CDN of tokens, the AI gateway. And one of the other big transitions that's going to happen is protocol. So we're going from HTTP to things like MCP. MCP is really exciting because if you looked at how ChatGPT is now allowing you to embed apps inside of ChatGPT, that also just came out a couple of weeks ago. I went to Next.js. I was able to deploy Doom inside of ChatGPT. Why? Wow. Because we have an MCP integration that allows our customers to embed themselves inside of ChatGPT. This is really exciting. If this takes off, this will be the world that you just described.
But
where anybody can hook up an app.
Does OpenAI have like a review process for that? Because I haven't just like run into the. I do run into those like hydrated UI elements every once in a while. If I'm asking for like movie reviews, it'll show me some pictures or like links baked in. But it's all kind of like pre-baked UI.
Yeah, you need to be working on creating your own Studio Ghibli moment around that.
Yeah, this feels like, really, really big. I feel like it actually
right
gets there. Tell me more about like how this actually rolls out.
Yeah, so on a protocol level, it's MCP. So as long as you have something like Vercel, you deploy your thing, it can speak MCP, you're embedded into ChatGPT. I deploy my app in developer mode, which means like they let you basically embed everything. It's going to be a little bit like an Apple App Store where you're going to have to get approved. But it seems like, their guidelines are pretty open. So I think a lot of it will fly. And to your point, this allows ejection points from ChatGPT into other kinds of platforms. So you could imagine one where if you start up cooking up an idea, it recommends V0 because Vercel registered an application with them, and this is the right application for prototyping and vibe coding. In fact, the other day while I was in developer mode, it started recommending things to me. So I guess some of the early adopters of their apps platform. I believe MCP will continue to enable this sort of like agent-to-agent communication. This is already very big when you're coding with agents because in order to, for example, a good example would be Figma converted to V0, so you can convert from Figma to Next.js app. That's going to speak the MCP protocol. So I think as far as the AI cloud goes, enterprises will be wrestling with these questions, right? Like the most common question I get is, how do I not get disintermediated by Google AI overviews, right? So, which is sort of summarizing all of the results of the search pages. And how do I not get disintermediated by ChatGPT? And I think they're really good answers.
How do you think about M&A? You don't have to talk about M&A interest in Vercel because I'm sure you're turning down stuff all the time. But how are you thinking about M&A in terms of expanding and building on the existing platform?
Yeah, there were so many investments being put into the AI categories, right? And vertical agents, coding agents, IDEs, things like this. I think there's going to be more consolidation in the coming months and years. There's like 10, 20 different options for anything you can conceive AI related, AI for QA, AI for testing, AI for this. So I think creates a lot of opportunities for Vercel, which is a very broad platform with lots of users to sort of make some strategic M&A. But I'm even more excited about our marketplace. So we announced at Vercel Ship AI our marketplace for one-click install of AI agents and AI infrastructure services. So I mentioned if you're going to sit down and create your own agent, it's very likely you're going to need some services that Vercel doesn't offer. One example is browsers on demand. I think you guys have had a couple browser CEOs here on the show. And so Vercel doesn't offer browsers as a service built in, but now we offer it one click through the marketplace. Another example is security audits that AI agents can help with. One click install services like Corridor. Because Vercel contains the deployment URL and we have access to the code and we have access to the production data, it gives us a very special place so that we can grow a massive ecosystem of agents that automate the cloud. We're going to create some of those agents. We might acquire a few, but overall, I'm very excited about becoming sort of the nexus where all of the agents are collaborating together. So they take the burden off of maintaining the cloud. We also, the outage the other day with US East 1, the internet melted down. All of those pagers or mattresses were waking up people. Our vision for the future of the cloud is that they wake up agents. The agent has to do the first pass of like, oh my God, anomaly alert, 500 errors. All right, let's have the Vercel agent do the first pass. But this is also true for, you vibe coded something and you want a security engineer to review it for you. Well, now that's an agent you can one click install through the Vercel agent marketplace, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. What an interesting place to be. You can I mean, you have so many different pieces of the business, and I imagine that a lot of them are growing business lines. I can imagine the Series F process was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Given all the booms. Jordy, anything else?
No, this is great. Great to get the update.
Yeah, thanks so much for hopping on. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon, Guillermo.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye. He mentioned 8 sleep. Let's talk about our sleep scores. How'd you sleep?
We need to
Go to 8sleep.com.
talk to Mateo, and I don't want this. I don't want the John handicap anymore.
You have a conspiracy theory that, like, for some reason it just gives me better results. I got a 98 last night. Let's go. 7 hours, 44 minutes.
I got a 78.
Our next guest, Brendan
Beat
from
me fair and
Mercor,
square.
is in the Restream waiting room.
That's
Now he's in the TBPN Ultra Jump. Welcome to the stream, Brendan. Congratulations.
$10 billion man.
How are you doing? Called his shot. He's the biggest shot caller in all of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, we gotta get some new shots.
This is I was telling him this. I was like, you need to call the shot. You're holding up the global economy within 5 years. Every company is dependent on you. Like, there's no shot this man won't call. But give us the news. Break down exactly what happened. Tell us what is new today.
Yeah, I mean, the company's been growing like crazy. We're now paying out over $1.5 million a day to experts in our marketplace.
Hit the gong for that.
And there we go.
And what else?
And we've raised our Series C of $350 million at a $10 billion value.
Massive.
So
$10 billion value.
Extremely exciting, yeah.
That is
Not
huge.
bad for your first startup.
The gong is really going. Something's up with the gong these days. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's like it's ringing.
Let's get right in. You had I feel like I remember you had a blog. Was it blog post Friday? Do I have that right? Is it worth getting into that?
About the big things.
Yes.
Yeah, the big things. Let's talk about the big things.
Yeah, it's really starting with the question of what are the things that we know are going to be the same about our business over the next 10 years, and that there's a lot that's going to change over time. But we know that the 3 main areas that our customers will always want more improvement and progress are in more candidates on our platform, better matching, and faster delivery of all of the candidates that we're hiring for them to improve frontier models. And so those are really
how
we
Bezos inspired.
It is, exactly, yeah. Similar to how Amazon said that their 3 big things were more products, better prices, faster delivery. For us, it's a little bit different because no 2 people are the same, but inspired by it very significantly.
Totally. Let's go through them, I think. And then I guess want to get kind of more into the future too. I think people, some people would have a sense that there could just be this, incredible demand over the next 5 years, and then, does that demand evolve, evaporate? But I want to hear how you view it, maybe more specifically.
Totally. What we've been seeing is that there's an enormous trend towards humans training agents how to automate redundant workflows that they would do in their jobs because it's structurally more efficient to do so. Instead of a customer support representative redundantly responding to hundreds of tickets, they create an eval to train an agent one time how to do that thing. Instead of a banker redundantly analyzing data rooms, they create an eval to train an agent how to do that thing. And we believe that a huge portion of the broader knowledge work in the economy is going to converge on training agents how to do these activities. And our marketplace is really at that frontier of creating this new job category in training agents.
How does this look long term if one of the big AI platforms becomes really, really dominant, understands what everyone does, and can just ask me to do a task within the app? Is there any sort of disintermediation risk, or do you think that what you're building with Mercor is special enough that even if the OpenAI ChatGPT app can detect that, oh, well, you've talked to me enough, I know you're an investment banker, I'd love to do a RL environment with you, here's an offer directly to come and do some training data? How are you thinking about counter-positioning against that risk, or is that just not a thing at all?
Well, one of the most important things in building out these environments to train agents is that they need to be very consistently reliable, in that you need to put a lot of work into them. And if there's noise and that there's some mistakes or issues, then it's very difficult for a model to learn from. And so as a result, it's really difficult to ask your users to say, put in 10 hours to helping to see if we made a mistake in preparing this financial model for you. And those users might flag a mistake, but that's incorrect half the time. And so what they instead need to do is build out armies of experts that are able to diligently analyze model performance, go through strict review processes to ensure consistency, and build these RL environments to adapt models for any specific use case.
So you obviously have massive diversity on the talent side, but how do you think about customer concentration over the next few years? Do you think that, like, there are clearly power law winners in AI? There are trillion-dollar labs, Google and OpenAI is $500 billion. Like, there's huge winners, and then there's a ton of startups. How do you see the shape of your business? Do you think you'll have a lot of medium-sized companies or just tons and tons of small companies, and every individual company will need to come to you for talent to optimize whatever little thing they're doing? Or will you be doing more work with the really, really big labs? How do you think that all shakes out?
I think it'll be some combination. Definitely near term, it looks similar to NVIDIA insofar as working with a dozen of the hyperscalers that are investing huge amounts in this. But over time, what we're seeing is that every enterprise wants to train agents to customize their specific workflows. And we have the expertise to help them do that in building out all of the eval sets and environments that correspond to every workflow in their businesses that they want to automate.
I had an eye-opening experience yesterday. I have a friend who's a lawyer, and about a year ago, I started asking him, like, what kind of AI tools they're using, and he was like broadly like not impressed. He was like, we're like signing up for them, we're not getting a lot of value, but it's interesting, I'm keeping an eye on it, kind of thing. And then yesterday he said to me, I've seen the future. Harvey isn't perfect, but has better attention to detail and is more thoughtful than almost any junior person at our firm. I've watched it do 100K of associate level work in 10 minutes. And that felt like just extremely notable to me, to just see how hard he like 180'd on that. Is like, how, like, what is the structure? And you can talk at a high level to not give away specifics, but like how much investment is like going into just that category alone from your view?
I mean, we're seeing a huge amount of investment in law. Certainly, I would say the top categories are probably software engineering, then finance, then law. Maybe close between medicine and law. But I think that the models are very quickly going to be able to do even partner level work at a lot of these firms. And so that transformation and how it impacts businesses and the economy is going to be really profound. And obviously, all of the data and evals to enable that is one of the primary blockers to getting there.
We have a shout out to one of your employees, Virat Talwar. So just wanted to say congratulations to him on being part of the team.
The chat
is just
fan.
shouting him out.
Oh, I see.
Obviously, it's a big milestone. So we want to celebrate everyone on the team.
How in conversations for this last round, obviously the business has so much momentum. I'm sure people are just like, take my money at all cost, whatever. I just take it. I'll send the money and we'll figure out the docs later. But how big can Mercor get? Like, what is, like, if somebody asks, like, okay, if everything goes right, what does his business look like? And does it look like, you're paying out on the levels of like an ADP, right? Do you become like one of the largest pseudo employers in history? Like, what's the craziest outcome?
The way I think about it is that right now businesses are spending about $40 trillion a year on knowledge work, all for people doing these largely monotonous things that have similarities from task to task. But all of that is going to be transformed to training agents to automate workflows. Instead of doing it ourselves, we'll have agents do those things. And Mercor is building the infrastructure to enable humans to engage with models, to teach them to fit into the AI economy. And I think there's an opportunity worth tens of trillions of dollars a year to help that transformation happen over the coming decade. And so we're only 1% of the way there, if that, and very exciting for everything to come.
Are you a foodie? We have another question from the chat. Do you like fine cuisine?
I am a foodie. Yeah.
You are a foodie.
It's very fortunate coincidence. Yeah.
That's good nominative determinism. We're very happy to hear that. Last question. When IPO?
We don't have a specific date in mind yet, potentially on the horizon, but we'll be sure to keep you guys updated.
Let's go.
Potentially. Let's do an air horn for potentially
Air horn
on the
for
horizon.
potentially on the horizon. No,
There's
no,
probably, somebody's probably going to write an article on
this
that,
is-
by the way, so I'm sorry.
This is a new thing. I see it all the time. Every time they interview Palmer Luckey and Blonde Bloomberg, they ask him, like, when are you IPOing? And I'm like, you know that he would tell you if he had news there. Like, why are you even asking? But I guess it's just fun to ask. And then in a couple of years, we can look back.
Potentially on the horizon is much different than we have no plans, though. So.
Yeah. I mean, you could have said absolutely not. I will never take this company public in my life. You didn't say that, so at least we got something. So thank you.
There you go. Progress.
Anyway, massive congratulations on all the progress. Really, really remarkable growth. I mean, what a fun time. What a fun business. And congratulations
great to
to
get the
everyone on
update.
the team. I mean,
Thanks for having me on.
absolute
Absolutely.
rocket ships.
Cheers.
Have a great rest of your day.
Later.
We'll talk to you soon.
Let's get back to the timeline for a little bit.
Let's get back to public.com, investing for those who take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing, industry-leading yields, and they're trusted by millions. Yes, let's go back to the timeline.
A lot of people have been focused on this this chart overlaying stock market performance over job openings and how it basically diverges
At the introduction of ChatGPT.
Basically.
That's where people
which is also the introduction of high rates.
Yes.
And I think
I think we need to put Tyler on this. Is this a chart crime, Tyler? Do you think that there's some funny business going on? This is a pretty simple. I don't think that it's literally like the lines are wrong. But
Mark at A16Z broke this down. He said this is particularly trippy chart crime. The break point was exactly when the COVID stimmy bubble pop and the Fed hiked interest rates to the moon. He says the great forgetting that COVID ever happened is wild. I can't tell if it's adaptive or suicidal or both. But yeah, I think everyone wants to memory hole this one.
And so what is exactly on this chart? I don't even have it pulled up. It's number of jobs versus financial performance or something like that. So Gavin Baker here says, really interesting chart from Derek Thompson surfaced it, former guest on the show. Stock market and job openings were highly correlated for decades. No longer. Stock market is up 75% and job openings are down 33%. Would think at least partially due to AI. Chamath Polyhapatia chimes in and says, it could also be that the plurality of the stock market is now highly concentrated across 7 to 8 companies who, on a relative basis, just don't employ a lot of people. So the stock market goes up, won't pull up employment along with it.
I still think what has been happening to date is CEOs are desperate for every possible AI narrative. And if they need to do layoffs because they got bloated during COVID, they will say that we're getting efficiency out of AI, and that's a much better reason than like we overhired. Remember, Microsoft has done a number of different layoffs this year. There's a layoff that got announced today.
Well, we should get Derek Thompson back on
Amazon,
the show. We should also get a couple other economists, maybe Tyler.
Amazon is targeting as many as 30,000 corporate jobs beginning tomorrow. So probably not a fun day over at Amazon HQ. Some more positive news. Timothy Mellon, a banking heir, is said to be the anonymous donor, not so anonymous now, I guess, according to the Times, who gave $130 million to the U.S. government to help pay troops during the shutdown. This guy doesn't, according to Will Manitis, worth $14 billion, personally guaranteed payroll for the armed services, and the only and most recent photo of him is from 1981.
And
this photo looks so cool that I kind of understand how he's like, all right, that's it.
Yes.
I took the only photo I need for life.
Yep.
I won't do any photos because this looks, the
And
suit, the
when you see
tie,
the photo,
with the train in the background.
Yeah.
With the hair, the stare. I mean, he one-shotted photography.
He did. It's remarkable because when you look at the photo and then you hear the headline, it's like meet the man who backstopped the and paid for the army's payroll in a time of crisis with his fortune. You're like, oh yeah, like this guy was probably crucial in World War II based on the image. And you're like, no, this happened like last week. He's talking about the 2025 government shutdown. That is what they're talking about, and I just every time I see this image, I think like, oh, this is
Mike in the chat is asking 130 million is what percentage of monthly payroll? And that is,
I have no idea. Well, maybe he levered it up.
Fiscal year 2024 military personnel category of the DoD budget, which covers pay and retirement benefits, was about 192 billion. So, I don't think the 130 million is gonna. It's a good start.
We've been on gambling this entire show, but I'm just thinking about like, what if instead of government bonds where you earn like 4%, the government just released, one massive lottery ticket or something that would be, it costs $1 billion, but there's a 1% chance that it pays out $100 billion. And if it does, then the U.S. government is indebted to you for like hundreds of years. But if it doesn't pay out, then the U.S. just gets
by 2024 math. I think you basically need like $7-ish billion every 2 weeks to keep the payroll going.
So what does 130 million do? It's like a day.
Yeah, Mike did the similar math.
8.8 billion per month.
8 billion. So I guess it's a good start.
There are some divisions of the government that have basically savings that they can kind of tap into, and then also there's a big question about how much are you actually going to do you need to bring everyone back on payroll? Or can you get by with 10% or 20%? And maybe this is something that he's backstopping and saying, hey, let's pay 20% of people instead of 10% of people. What does Polymarket say about the government shutdown? Let's pull that up. Government shutdown. Will the government shutdown end by, what is the most likely? November 30th. By December 31st, it's a 93% chance. November 15th is like the 50-50 mark, basically. So expect another 2 weeks, maybe another 3 weeks, according to Polymarket. So there's your Polymarket update.
People are
folks in the chat
still talking about double speed. The lets you control thousands of social media accounts with AI, ensuring they look as human as possible. Never pay a human again. Control is all you need. Jeremiah Johnson says every startup is like, we found a cool way to monetize undermining the social contract with 30,000 likes.
This is, we follow this person or something like that. This person's like a liberal. They should be pro-tech, and it's not like this person is like by default some like crazy anti-tech person. And so
you mean by you.
Jeremiah Johnson. Like Jeremiah Johnson is not like some like tear it all down anti-business, and he's making a good point getting 30,000 likes. And so I think this is a harbinger of like what the shape of the techlash will look like.
Well, I think in this case, even tech was not excited about this one.
Tech was lashing itself. Self-flagellating.
Self-harm.
Self-flash.
No, but tech is saying like, broadly, this doesn't seem like it needs to exist, and probably is a net negative, even if there's some legitimate use cases.
It's insane. Anyway, you know what is a casino? Running an out-of-home campaign with AdQuick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Only AdQuick combines technology, out-of-home expertise, and data to enable efficient, seamless ad buying across the globe.
Zoomer went viral again. This guy is just harvesting hatred from the entire world at this point. He said on a few days ago, at this point, I've lost all motivation to post on X. The new algorithm is so demoralizing. I have 30,000 followers and I'm getting 500 views in an hour. I'm done with this place. Well done, Elon Musk. And everyone and their mother was dunking on him and saying, you just got paid $10,000 a week ago to post a picture of Steve Jobs' daughter. You
didn't take the photo. It's not like he's a photographer.
And this post by ADS. Elon, I need my dopamine dollary dues. I posted another hot girl. Where's my engagement? Elon, I'm a content creator. So anyways, not a lot of support for Zoomer, but I guess I'm sure he'll be back. I doubt he.
Okay, we need Tyler to give us a review of chadlabs.ai. Apparently, I didn't even see this, but there's a YC company that is a brain rot IDE, something like that. The idea
no way this is real.
You can
Is this
brain
is this
rot
actually
TikTok
real?
and a cashback IDE. It seems like a parody.
This is for sure somebody just making it.
This seems like a joke, but we need you to get to the bottom of what's actually going on.
It's a real YC company.
Yes, but is it a stunt, or are they actually trying to bring Tinder into your IDE? Which is like,
I mean, I'm on the web. I'm on
so
the
for everyone
website.
commenting, learn.
I'm
what
on the
this-
Y Combinator website, and Clad Labs says it's the Brain Rot IDE. It's a fall 2025 batch.
Oh, it's Clad Labs. I thought it was Chad.
No, it's Clad Labs.
Founder of Chad IDE here, cladlabs.ai. So it's not Chad Labs, it's Clad Labs.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
bizarre.
I think this is just called Zoomer. This is just Zoomer marketing. They do call it the Chad IDE, the first Brain Rot IDE. They say, "Sup, Giga Chads." This is on the YC websites. "Sup, Giga Chads. We're Richard and Kevin, founders of Clad Labs. TLDR. As highly requested, we built the Chad IDE. Chad integrates your brain rot vices with your agentic coding workflow. Chad increases productivity and reduces friction of context switching."
Yeah.
So they're reducing.
So Kevin is kind of saying like, I thought the problem and solution was pretty straightforward. Crying emoji. Not sure what people can't understand about that. So he's kind of like leaning into this. It feels like this might be rage bait. The product
it's
branding
on
is an epic rage bait.
But this
More
is on the
publicity for
YC
you.
website. They have a screenshot of the product where they have Tinder in one
Yes,
panel
yes,
and then
yes,
the IDE
yes.
in the other panel.
And so this is the modern thesis.
They're
of,
saying
like,
you can shoot
rage bait
steak
your way
craps.
to. Yeah, so you can rage
I'm
bait your way
surprised
to
that-
actual usage.
I'm surprised that YC is putting this gambling IDE on their website, I will say. But maybe they're just
Well,
not going to form an opinion.
no, I think there is a open debate amongst a lot of people, like respectable venture capitalists around, can you launch with something that's rage baity and then pivot into something that's serious? Can you build a serious business with a rage baity go to market? And I know you're against this, but-
I've been working on my next essay.
Yes.
Rage bait marketing is for losers.
I like it.
Which is that I think when you do rage bait marketing, it obviously gets a lot of attention, but it makes it so that you make the entire world prey on your downfall. And I think that is
Yep.
spiritually a bad strategy.
Yep.
So I'm still working this one out, but I don't think that
No, I think-
I don't think that rage bait marketing helped Cluely win the enterprise. Right?
Yep. But there were a lot of VCs who
Maybe it works
invested.
for students.
And the story's not over, but there were a lot of VCs who invested and said, hey, look, we talked to Brian Kim from Andreessen on the show about this. Like, why'd you do the deal? And he was like, I like that they were able to get a lot of attention, and that gives them an opportunity to deliver a product. That gives them the opportunity to go build something. And he was like, look, like we don't know if they have necessarily, but at the very least, it's,
and they were
it's
masters
gotten
of it.
attention.
They would do the pictures of like
Tons
just
of
spent $10,000 on this suit, and you could tell that it was off the rack or whatever.
Yeah,
So-
tons of stuff. I just
don't think it's a good strategy, and I think that's going to be proven correct.
I think you're correct in the spiritually risky strategy, because how much better is it to just go and actually build a beautiful optimistic brand and pay for some billboard ads or even direct response ads.
Beautiful thing. You don't even need advertising if your product is
But let's say you
advertising
do.
is an accelerant.
Let's say you do need advertising because you've built a product, but no one knows about it, and you have two options. One, like the dark castle and the bright, the fork in the road meme. One of them is you rage bait everyone. You make your product annoying, and then everyone will have to check it out, and the product's actually good. Versus yeah, you have to shell out some cash to run some ads, but you slowly compound and you slowly grow. And then after a decade, you have a product where everyone's like, wow, that came out of nowhere. Those guys have just been running great ads for years, you know?
Yeah, I just
that
think
more.
you're ultimately, Chat IDE is competing with Cursor, Windsurf, GitHub Copilot. They're competing with serious companies, and what kind of like you're gonna attract unserious developers.
This is the lack of the April Fool's Day joke. This company could potentially have just been
this should have been an April Fool's
joke or Windsurf's April Fool's joke, and it should have just been. Maybe, I don't know exactly what it is. We got to dig in and understand what this is. But there's a whole world where the idea of a brain-rotty IDE is something like Google does as a side project as a joke, right?
Yep.
Like they used to do stuff like that, and some of it, like didn't they have a whole feature that was just like talk to your dog or something? I don't know. There's so many. There used to be a rich culture of April Fool's jokes where you could effectively rage bait the world, but everyone was in on the joke, and now we're in this world of like you rage bait everyone.
Rage bait is your whole brand strategy.
It's your whole brand strategy.
That's where.
And it's really hard to pivot away from. I don't think anyone's done it successfully.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard.
Well, on that note, we have to get on
with
the
Bezel.
telephone
GetBezel.com.
with Bezel.
Your Bezel concierge is available now to source you any watch on the planet. Seriously, any watch. And also wander. Find your happy place. Book a wander with inspiring views, hotel-grade amenities, dreamy beds, top-tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation home, but better. Play the double kill sound effect for 2 sponsors. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. Thank you.
We love you.
To everyone in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's listened to the show. We will see you tomorrow live with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft.
Cannot wait.
Have a great rest of your day.
See you then.
Goodbye.
Cheers, folks.